If you look at the 95% failure rate of startups, one of the biggest reason for those failure is the funding, and that also by venture capitalists. The startup founder who doesn't know he's being already set up for. You can only make money when you are solving a burning problem.
What's the reason that Indian brands are not getting popular in UAE?
I will tell you, this is again a shocker. I have been here 30 years, but till today, not even a single Indian product, service or brand is successful here. Why? Because we are very transactional in our mindset and in nature. A gentleman who 20 years back was vegetable seller, and now we are talking about $1 billion empire, 26 different industries, 28 different countries. I cannot speak English very well.
How to avoid founder-co-founder conflict?
When I constitute boards, I have this formula that grey-haired men should not comprise more than 40% of the board.
One advice to people who want to double or triple their income every year.
Investing on marketing while everybody else is cutting down on marketing. This is the time to acquire businesses, companies.
How do you recruit a right person in the company?
So I have a formula I created 3x3. I will not recruit unless, and when I took over that position, in 3 months I started failing. For exactly the same reasons I was successful for the last 18 years. I had to unlearn everything that had brought me success.
Do you think that the second generation are ready to inherit their family businesses?
Sheikh Mohammed drive the fastest car, so and so, but the generation after that will come back and ride camels.
Stronger men's build weaker kids. At what stage do a business starts failing?
The biggest failure I have seen is one which I mentioned, cash flow management. They don't realize.
Hi friends, before we start, if you have found any value in this channel that have helped you to think positively, grow personally, or even become a better person, then please consider subscribing. Your support motivates us to bring more valuable guests that can give you exceptional growth and more insights. Thank you for your support, and let's get started. Starting a business today is easy, but building a profitable business that survives generation is something completely different. Today's guest has spent years working closely with founders, family businesses, and leadership teams, helping loss-making companies become profitable, guiding family businesses through succession, advising boards, integrating technology, building sustainable systems, and helping traditional businesses to reinvent themselves for the future. If you've ever wondered why some businesses scale and why others keep failing and struggling, why family businesses fail to pass succession to the next generation, and how investment decisions are taken in the boardroom, then this conversation is for you. Please join me in welcoming business strategist, board advisor, and transformational expert, Dr. Anurag Guglani. Hi, doctor. Welcome to the show. If I have to ask you the first question in a very simplified manner, I want to know, who is Dr. Anurag Guglani and what does he expertise into?
My one single line answer to this is jack of many, master of some.
Okay.
Right? I've changed the terminology of master of none to master of some.
Okay.
Because I have this very bad habit for putting my hands into multiple things for one simple reason, that I decide to fail. Because I have learned in life that all your experiences, all your success is owed to your failures.
Okay.
And to fail, you have to put your hand into multiple things. If you don't put them, and you put them only in things you know, you don't fail, right? So failure always leaves us, either brings, when you try something, either it brings success or it brings you a learning. So it's never a failure, but it does bring you a lot of experience and knowledge. So for me, this is not the life I ever imagined, because my father was flying for the Air Force, as I was mentioning. So my whole aim was to fly and become a fighter jet pilot for the Air Force.
Okay.
So I am a graduate of the National Defense Academy, Khadakwasla, NDA, trained as a fighter jet pilot. And that was my entire dream. So from my very beginning, I've lived in an Air Force atmosphere. I've lived where fighter jets around me all the time. I've been around fighter jet pilots. And that's how I, in my first attempt, got into the NDA, got into the SSB, did my 3 years of training at the academy and everything with a fighter jet pilot. At the very initial stage, now my dream of continuing as a fighter jet pilot did not push through, and I had to choose of going into other, whether army or navy or of those things. But then I decided my only passion was flying, so move out of it and let's fly on the ground.
Oh, but weren't your parents really unhappy with this decision? Because of course they have done all the efforts to make you a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
They have contributed everything. They have put so much of hopes into you that one day you will go into the Air Force and fly for India and fight for India. But then how did you take such radical decision?
So not radical. My father himself has been through 2 wars.
Okay.
When I was born, he was liberating Bangladesh from East Pakistan, right? So he was missing in action because I was born in January 72 and this happened in December 71. So he was the air support.
Okay.
And he's been, so even his induction into the armed forces was during a war period, right?
Okay.
So, and like I said, when you grow up in an atmosphere like that, that's all you see and that's all you dream. And you know the life, the passion it has. So I don't, obviously my parents, because their exposure was also only to the armed forces, right? So they would have, that's why they would have always wanted me to see me in the uniform. And I would have loved to do that.
It's a matter of pride.
Yeah, but to come out of it, my father actually had to pay a lot of money because this entire training which you go through is free of charge because you're selected.
Correct.
For a permanent commission. You sign a bond for a long tenure. So obviously, you had to pay for it. But I think in hindsight, everything that happens for the good. I am best placed because all my course mates today are 2-star generals and equivalent in Army, Navy, Air Force serving. And I have had the privilege of having the same learning and using it in the civil, in the corporate world, in the business world, which I don't think many people have. Because I exited early and I could use that because you have been completely transformed in those 3-4 years. You get completely transformed into who you can be. Because you are being trained.
Because very strict discipline and very, very strict environment is there. Always you're monitored continuously.
So I have hundreds of stories which I can give, which we can laugh around on all the raggings and everything that happens, which are beautiful. But ultimately, what is it? You are being groomed as an armed forces officer, where at the age of 21, you will be commanding at least about 1,000 men in the first posting in the army also is at the most hostile environment. So you as a young 21-year-old being able to command men and lead them to give up something which is most precious to each one of us is our lives. To give away your life for the country, for somebody you don't know, without you being able to give them any bonus, increment, incentive is a skill which is being inculcated in you in those training period.
100%.
Right? And which you can't get in any university of the world, in any place, wherever you go. So that is what you are being transformed in. So when I went into the academy, the first sign was NDA, maker of men. Correct. Now women are there, but only recently. But for all these years, NDA only had boys coming and being turned into men. Right. So you are being trained for a different this, but having been able to use that successfully in this part of the world, and that's where in about 2 months there'll be a book of mine which will come out.
Okay.
In which I'm talking primarily about all that happened and how each part of that has been deployed in the world of business and corporate, in entrepreneurship and everything, and how those skills have really mattered, and a lot of youngsters to learn from it and not to fail. That's what we can help. What we can help is make the failure route shorter by giving them insights into things which they don't have to really go through the learning curve, right? And
so, but if I have to ask you the first question, आपका psychological training क्या होता है? Like when you start in the Air Force, what was that training like? Because that's of course वो corporate world में आके further amplify होता है. But initial stage में जो grooming होती है, that's I think that stays like a pillar of your life. वो क्या training होती है? I just want to decode that mind.
So the beauty is that you are entering at the age of 17.
Okay.
Right. So 17 to 21 is the age between which you are completely being transformed into someone. What they are inculcating you is in the terminology is called OLQ, officer-like qualities. Right? Officer-like qualities, because it's whether inside or outside, wherever you are, every behavior of yours has to be an officer-like. And officer-like is the character that they are building in you, right? So, and many people ask me all this time. We had a very bad incident also, which was one of the reasons of my early exit. Was my first cousin died in the academy because of ragging. He was just 6 months senior to me in the course. When I was in my second term, he was in third term. There are 6 terms, right? Okay. He passed away because of ragging. Very, very rare incident like that. Obviously, ragging is there and it's quite severe. Very rare incident, but it happened. So now the question is, why should it be there? But then the answer to that is, you've chosen a profession where tomorrow, what circumstance and where would you land in, and how would you come out of that? No official course curriculum can teach you that.
Correct.
How harsh can it be? So it is these unofficial training programs, which we may call
part of the curriculum,
are part of the curriculum, because and in the academy there is a very clear rule: the first termer are managed by the second by the third by the fourth. There is a hierarchy, and every term you have to earn a privilege. And for something you do, the third termers, if you're a first termer and you do something wrong, the third termer will screw the second termers, not the first termer. They won't tie. So there everything has to be earned.
So the ladder is there.
So there are so many amazing stories of ragging, which I'm covering in my book also, but which are very hilarious in nature. But ultimately, they are making a very, very tough character out of you, so that you can withstand that kind of.
What will be those top 3 qualities, if I have to say that? वो 3 quality, officer type quality जो आप बोल रहे हो. What are those top 3 qualities that actually you are injected in from your initial stage? So that, I think, that makes you a man.
So the beauty is, those qualities I have found are not very different from what an entrepreneur would use, because your first quality, which is also a quality of a good entrepreneur, is your ability to take risk. Right? That's the first thing you would look at. The second thing you would look at is, how do you find yourself coming out of a situation which is very adverse in nature, right? So you going in for those kind of challenges, right, and coming out of it, which again is required in the entrepreneurial world, because it is never the same path, right? I have seen businesses, I call them the 7-year itch in business, like marriage, where businesses go down, they go up, go down, go up, go down. So someone has to know how to navigate those cycles, right? So which is not very different from
uncertain conditions
from what it is here. And I think third most important is your leadership and team management. So even today, when I look at startups or entrepreneurs or whatever, you're never evaluating a business. You're evaluating the people behind that. So because you say, if it's a 10 million, if the guy is projecting to you and saying, my business will go to $10 million, so then you are not looking at the $10 million business. You're looking at the person and his capability. Does he have it in him to lead a $10 million business tomorrow and to build a team? Because nobody alone can do it.
Correct.
So these 3 qualities, because you know that businesses will go through this cycle, does that person have that quality to sustain? Right? Does that person have the quality of leadership and team management? Because ultimately one person cannot manage a 10 million. So can he build that stuff up? And does he have the ability to take risk and spot these opportunities in trend? Right?
What do you mean by risk-taking abilities?
So if you look at majority of the top entrepreneurs in the world are either school or college dropouts.
Okay.
Not the most highly educated ones. And when I say that, I mean people who had very little to lose could place everything at risk more than somebody else, right? I always say, I mean, obviously I did my doctorate very later in life, but anyone who's done that much earlier has chosen a path for himself, more or less to work for somebody. Because when you became a chartered accountant, when you became a doctorate or whatever, you've chosen a line.
Correct.
Right? And maybe at some stage you may become an entrepreneur, but your initial mindset is towards working for somebody
and
adding
making
value.
Sure that your daily needs are met.
Yeah, and your daily needs are met, right? So when I say, so that's why your capability or ability to take risk is lower, because you've invested heavily on yourself and now you want the return out of it.
Correct.
Right. Now, ability to take risk for an entrepreneur who's less educated or whatever is very high, because they don't have anything to lose. That's all. They will go in with everything. I'll tell you a beautiful story. So I'm on the board of a $1 billion group.
Okay.
Owned by the smallest country in Africa is Eritrea. Eritrea.
Okay.
Right. Now, this company is owned by an Eritrean.
Okay.
A gentleman who 20 years back was a vegetable seller.
Okay.
And now we are talking about $1 billion empire, 26 different industries, 28 different countries, right? And he cannot speak English very well.
Okay.
Any spreadsheet or any of these Excel sheets does not register with him, right? So at one stage, I asked,
how did you do it?
Why? No, not that. That I know I think business is the easiest to do, because it's all about solving somebody's problem, getting paid for it, and out of that payment, taking out your cost and rest is your profit, right? So it's not that complex, provided you've done the research methodology right of identifying the burning problem. Right? So that wasn't, but the main thing which I was asking was that each of the CEOs or whatever they had in the company was about 100,000 dirham salary a month kind of people, right? So when I asked this, why do you want me on the board? I mean, you have qualified people who are there who understand that. He says, I would never speak to my CEO or CFO for a business strategy. And I asked him why. He says, because one, they are not entrepreneurs. They are employed and their key job is to protect the organization and the risk. So everything which I would bring to them, they would look at it from
functional angle.
From a functional angle and from the ability to protect rather than taking risks. But I have not become what I am today because of that. I have become because my gut feel told me, go in, don't do too much analysis of whether it will work or not work. Go in and take it head on. Whatever comes, you'll keep on sorting it out.
Instincts.
Because nobody can plan. So he says, how can I expect my CEO, CFO, who've not gone through that journey, to give me a evaluation? So majority of the time, if I ask them, I'll get brainwashed into not doing it. So there are people like this, right? So which is why I'm saying a person like him, the ability to take risk means go with your gut feel, go head on, don't do too much data analysis, don't think too much, but do the basics. Basics of your market research, basics of understanding, which I say the basic is identify the burning problem. You can only make money when you are solving a burning problem. You identify a problem, you solve it, you are in business, but not necessarily profitable. To become profitable, you should be solving a burning problem. And you should be very clear on who wants that solution, what they will pay for that solution, how much, because that becomes your pricing. The solution becomes the product. And then you have to work out that in order to manage my cost within that pricing, this is what I need as an expense.
But sir, I want to ask you one thing, that how do you define business? Is business all about making lots of money, or is the definition of the word business different for different people?
So because I am termed as the family business doctor, because my entire life has been around family businesses in transforming, turning around, scaling up, investing, operating. And the beauty why I say that is because, so one thing which I decided was, as I sit on the board of some good family businesses, my idea of joining in was, generally if you look at board members back in our countries, they are mostly lawyers, auditors, this, and their job is all around governance and compliance.
Advising.
Family businesses don't need that. One, it is not mandatory here like India that you should have, because you're not a listed firm, right? So family businesses they have their family members, but an outsider is only required to, because the outsider thinks differently, because the outsider can take them on that journey, because the family businesses generally, and if I'm on a few local ones, which I mean Emirati, Qatari, Omani, Saudi, and I have a huge respect for these family business, local owned family business versus an expatriate. And I say that to a lot of expatriates and I tell them, please don't mind why I'm saying that is because a local who started a business from day one decided not to get operationally involved in that business, whereas an expatriate who starts a business in this part of the world decides to operationally run it because he knows about that business. So his entire strategy is on how he will manage the business. I came here in 1997. It's going to be almost 30 years. And I was a part of a very large group. Owner of that very large group used to work as a branch manager in a bank.
Okay.
He never left his job. He retired at the age of 65 from there. And I'm talking about a $1.5 billion group, which grew rapidly throughout, gained market share. But what these locals have done, from day one, their focus is on putting the right people and right structure in place. The right CEO, the right CFO, the right internal auditor, the right governance mechanism. It is never about they will come in and they will start operating the business. So this gentleman, after his banking hours, would go around, visit the stores, talk to key people. He had his way of getting what he wanted to build his confidence on. Whereas this is not the way an expatriate business owner would think.
Or maybe an Indian business owner would think.
True. And which is why they limits their scalability. Whereas in this case, they remain open to scaling up, and which is why majority of these large family businesses are in 20-25 different industries. There'll be in FMCG, retail, real estate, hotels, anything which comes as an opportunity. So
they focus a lot on structure,
exactly,
and they don't actually focus on managing the business themselves. So even if their job is continuing somewhere else, they will say, okay, it's fine. Let me appoint the right relevant guy and let me give him the capital and let him basically go and build this business for me.
Yes. And I think they are very smart on doing this. I mean, obviously, not many of them are working and operating this. But for example, I learned from this gentleman, and that's how I say my entire being with different nationalities of family business owners, I've learned a lot. This gentleman was an inspiration to me because very early I got exposed to the fact that businesses can run through a structure, not by you being every day sitting inside the business and managing everything, right? And I think this gentleman intentionally took the call of keeping his job so that he does not get overly, because if he
Occupied.
gets occupied in the business, because if he gets occupied in business, then he'll do the decision making. Then your CEO or the key people you have put into place, generally, if you get involved, they start throwing all the problem to you.
They will not be independent in their decision
right?
making.
They'll not take ownership. Right. So I think this is a beautiful place. So unfortunately, I have seen this structure also in the expatriate owned business, but to them it comes only when they are either physically become unfit or can't manage it any longer, or they have become aged, or people from their family don't want to become a part of the second generation, don't want to become a part of the business, so they will then start delegating and give it to somebody else. So it comes very late in life.
So when you look at these family business, because you came up to the topic of family businesses, I want to understand, when you look at family businesses, what are their objectives behind building this business? Is it only to make money, lots of money, or is they have something else?
Yeah, because that was your original question. And why I touched on family businesses was so family businesses believe in longevity and continuity of business, right? Family businesses here, specifically the local owned, even if one of their business units or a brand or whatever it is losing money, they will never let it go. They will never let it go because it's a matter of pride. It's a matter of somebody else should not own, because if somebody else can do it, they can do it, right? So it's lesser about money. It's more about the pride and the longevity and the brand reputation of the family, right? Because there's a family name associated with it, right? Now, so what happened was, like I was mentioning to you, Dubai, a lot of people mistake Dubai who open business here are only looking at UAE as the market. First, they look at Dubai, then they may look at Abu Dhabi or UAE as a market, and then they may think of Oman, Qatar, Saudi. But this is not the market. The market is where you make money, is your entire African continent, 56 countries, 1.5 billion population, 75% of the population below the age of 25, full of youth, full of every single resource in the world that you can think of. There is nothing which is not there in Africa. What they don't have is the technological know-how and capability of how to convert that raw resource into something of that, right? And which is where the role of Dubai or anyone, even India, if it has to work with Africa, it needs Dubai as a conduit for payments, facilities, and all of those. So, and then from here, it is not only Africa, your CIS, right up till Turkey is your market.
Yeah, that I understand as a market potential. Right. My question is only about what is their objective? Their objective is to build a legacy.
Right. So their objective is, so why I'm saying that is build a legacy, but so why I'm giving you this geography is because when I got involved with these family business, I said, we will scale into Africa. We'll scale into these continents. But we have to understand one thing, that when we scale into these, we'll make a lot of money, but we will not be able to get our money out. It's very difficult to get money out of these countries because of lack of dollars, foreign currency or whatever. That we'll go with a single ambition, that we will do the same thing as we've done in this country with our brand value and our, how we support the local network. So what we did was we made a lot of money and we reinvested that in every single country with two objectives. So I have been awarded the US President's Lifetime Achievement Award by Joe Biden.
Wow.
In 2022. And that was primarily of the work we did on women and youth empowerment and entrepreneurship development in these countries. And the reason for that is we said we will reinvest and we will create these opportunities for women and youth in these countries, right? So we went from some places we opened a logistics park, some places we opened a diaper manufacturing, some places we opened a pharmaceutical business. Some places we opened a real estate, a hotel.
In
Right?
US?
In African countries.
Okay.
In African countries, right? So here, what we are talking about is we were talking about the US interest in Africa, right? Which we were working on. So and more also, it was an initiative from the United Nations and
it is a part of an initiative of United Nations.
Yes. But the whole objective which is here is that these family businesses understood that concept that, okay, we make money and we make good money and we do good for the mankind. Right? So this matters to a family business. So yes, you have to make money, but you deploy that money for doing several acts and initiatives which can have a very, very positive impact.
So if I'm looking at the way you're telling me that the first generation guy who's initiating this business is thinking from a very, very long-term perspective. And therefore, he's looking at all these markets that are available for expansion. So his goal is not to like open a company, make immediate money and exit or something like very short term. It's a very long term plan. That's where you're saying that family businesses are businesses that are built for legacy and that actually are passed on to generation. So the first generation guy also thinks in that direction only. So he is thinking from decades to decades of how to continue this business. Am I right? Is this something what you're saying?
100%. However, this then changes by generation because that's a very big problem that I have to end up solving. So what happens is, and this is a quote also by Sheikh Mohammed, right, where he was mentioning that my next generation will drive the fastest car, so and so, but the generation after that will come back and ride camels. Why? Because he is saying that the generation which grows up in luxury, where all of that becomes lazier, and then the next generation, and then they have to come back to this, right? So
stronger men build weaker kids, and weaker kids will then build a stronger men again, and it will come back.
Yeah, it will come back. So around that. However, what's happened is, so a lot of kids from established family businesses, obviously here have grown up in luxury. Good houses, good cars, good support system and everything, have gone abroad and studied at top universities, right? And then they come back to join the family business. So all throughout this experience, they have never been exposed to how money was made, what was the hard work which was done by, and how the business operates, right? So when they come back, they get a shock, a complete culture shock. They never thought, oh my God, this is how the father every day is on the phone, he's having these meetings, this is so much of work in making money. But that's a passion that founder has built over a period of time and worked it, right? Now, so, okay, they may not want to do that, which is fine. However, they have learned new things, right? They want to come up with new ideas. So I was in the board of another very large firm. This is Indian. Their prime business was wholesale, making a lot of money. Now, when the kids who studied in the best colleges overseas wanted to come in, they wanted to get into retail because for them, the wholesale business is no excitement. There's no brand building around it. There's no this. So but now to start selling from 20 kg to 250 gram, now to start establishing a brand, whereas in wholesale, you don't need a brand.
Correct.
Right?
It's a B2B work.
It's a B2B kind of. So all that mindset which they wanted to bring in around marketing, brand building, to supply to a supermarket and to be able to take the return, all this was never understood by anyone who's sitting in that business, which was 20, 25 years old. The whole chain of people, whether a CFO, CEO, whosoever, and all those were trustworthy people of the chairman because the whole company has grown up like that, right? So what happens is that throughout this tenure, accountant may become CFO, a sales manager may today be the
sales director
or general manager, whatever it is, right? So they are very good at doing what they're doing because they have been doing it all throughout. But they are not tuned to manage disruption and change which is happening outside. That is not under their control. Internally, they can do whatever they are doing. You do the same thing for many years. Even a donkey can become a horse. But outside, the market is completely disrupted. Now, these kids want to come in and bring in this new thought. Everyone starts making fun of it. Very difficult for them. Nobody will show it on the face. But there are people within the company who also don't want their success because they will push them out of the comfort zone. Right? You are in a comfort zone. Every day you come at this time, go at this time, you get salary. It's been happening for many years. So now somebody wants to change that dynamics. not acceptable, right? So they have a lot of struggle in getting this. So I have seen so much of conflicts of this kind, to the extent that the kids would tell me, Dr. Anurag, we can't have more than a 1 minute conversation with our father on this, right? So you have to really convince here the older, the patriarch, matriarch, whoever is the founder, on why they should be accepting. They have a completely different point of view because they believe so strongly. This is where they brought the company to. This is how they built it, right? The kids of today, they have no experience. Somebody else is trying to push their agenda through them. All those thoughts come into their mind. And the thought going on in the kids is, maybe our father, maybe if it's a girl, she will think, oh, my father thinks I'm going to be married tomorrow, so he doesn't want me involved in business.
So is the problem more psychological, or is the problem about capabilities?
It is never about capability.
Okay.
I think I'm such a firm believer that capability for any individual is never a problem. Because everyone has that basic thing which is required, which is common sense. And rest, we develop our capabilities by what we experience and we learn. Nobody has come up with a mind which has everything fed into it, right? We've all learned through experiences. So I think every human being, whosoever it may be or whatever caliber, capability is never an issue. The issue is about what exposure can you give them and what is the willingness they have within themselves to adapt and learn, right? It's always about that. So capability is never a question. It is highly psychological in nature, but also these other forces sitting within the organization who are there for a long time, who do not want the comfort zone. So I think human beings' biggest enemy is that comfort zone. And I say that so many times that when we teach our kids and we put them to the topmost universities, right, from where they will be picked up from the campus, I think we've already defined the death for entrepreneurship for them, at least, because the moment you get picked up because you graduated from a top university, you are picked up by a good, then you start getting a good salary. And the day you start living by the paycheck, and that becomes a habit, because then you start all your expenses and all your liabilities, a car, a house, whatever you would build on it because of that paycheck, right? Then takes you into it so heavily that everything else then has least priority.
So do you think that the second generation childrens are not ready to inherit their family businesses?
No.
It's mostly because they are attached emotionally to the first generation?
So I'll tell you, I'm also an adjunct professor at the American University, and I'm teaching because of my 2 PhDs, one in intelligent automation, another one in family business disruption. 70% of my students are Emiratis, and the balance 30% are Arabs from other countries. And people ask me, so I'm teaching entrepreneurship, I'm teaching business data analytics, economics, international business, marketing. So a lot of people ask me, why would you do this? Why do you go there and teach in a university? I said, I don't go there to teach, I go there to learn. I said, what do you mean? I said, why I go there to learn is because today is the largest problem in any organization, not only family business, any other organization, is where you have a C-suite sitting in the age of 50 and you have a young generation below the age of 30 in that organization. You already have a 20 years age gap of thinking. Like in families also, there is a difference. There is always a problem between a son or daughter being able to communicate well with their parents who are in 50. That same problem you have in organizations. Now, who has to change? Not the youngster. It is the senior gray-haired people. Why? Because what we are thinking based on our experience and knowledge that we have acquired, but we may not necessarily have that foresight which a youngster of today may have. Correct? So when I am going and interacting with these young students, I am going with an objective to obviously share my experience, but learn from them as how they think. Because when I know how they think, I know how to manage them more effectively in my organization or wherever I am, right? And obviously, these guys are out of the box thinkers. We may say, if you do a poll, you talk to, take a sample set of 50, 100 people who are 50 plus and ask them, what do they think about the current Gen Z or generation? I think 95% will say they are lazy, right? They want everything very quick, right? All that, right? You'll have
some bias.
You'll have some bias because we are looking at it from our lens. But the way things have to work in future are not how they work today. Like we all say, we don't know what will be the jobs of the future. 50% of the workforce is going to be freelance. This never happened before, but it is happening.
But that we are looking it from our lens.
Yeah.
Again, when you look at them, actually we are living in their world.
Yeah.
If you look at the other way, like when I'm looking at like, okay, so the older generation is living in the younger generation's world, because the younger generation is going to take on from here.
Yeah.
So I think we need to make the changes to fit into their world.
Yes. So we means I thought you are younger.
Yeah. No, I'm saying like as a senior. When you say we means we are talking about the management.
Yeah, definitely.
The management of the company should actually fit into that world.
Management of the company, primarily the ones who are, when I say in the age bracket of 50 plus, because their exposure has been very different. So obviously the whole offering in the market has changed. And this is why I did something very powerful and very successful, which is of how a family business can support this. So startup. If you look at the 95% failure rate of startups.
I wanted to understand that.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a regular business versus a startup? दोनों में difference क्या है?
There is no difference. Actually, startup is a more trendy word, but ultimately it is business. Everything which started as a startup, but it's a business ultimately, right? I think startup has become more of an acronym or whatever you may call as sounds more trendy, but it has a lot of negative impact also, because that word startup, I think, reduces the impact and importance of what is called the same thing business, and it feels more weight, right? So why should I say I'm a startup founder? I run a business. That's what somebody should be saying. Because
maybe social media has put it up like that.
Social media has put it up like that. So if I analyzed the huge failure rate of startups, I attributed it to a couple of things, which again, a few people would not like or accept what I say. But I think one of the biggest reason for those failure is the funding. And that also by venture capitalists, because the model of a VC is like body shopping, which means that a VC's interest is much lesser in what that business ultimately from a long-term tenure or profitability works on. So if I'm a VC, you are a startup, I would like to fund you because when I put money in you, your valuation increases. And on the basis of that, then I'll make others put money in it. So the valuation keeps on increasing, which means whatever equity I had when I entered, irrespective of the business doing anything or not, just because money is being pumped into it, because one guy put, then the other guy put, and the other guy put, the valuation is increasing. But it's not a business set up for a profitable business or a scaling up business. So what is happening is the startup founder who doesn't know he's being already set up for failure. Because for a VC like this, out of 10, even if one becomes a unicorn, their returns will come. But imagine the plight of those 9 founders who don't know that they will eventually fail because they are not being supported from the business aspect of it. So every time money goes into it, their equity gets diluted.
I understand what you're saying, but actually that time I want to understand, is that VC putting money on the founder or on the business itself?
Yeah, on the business.
On the business itself.
They are putting the money on the business, and actually they are putting money on their value they will bring in by putting that money into that business, because that will increase the valuation. Now,
but do you think that they should actually look at the experience of the founder as well?
See, I'll tell you. So if you look at the success, the ones who have been successful, they've not been successful because of the original idea which that founder brought into place at the first.
Okay.
Right? And it is not only successful because of that founder, it is successful because of the team that founder built up of experienced, inexperienced, of some advisors, some people behind. It's a culmination of many things, right? So if anyone evaluates one founder and says on the basis of that founder I could invest, it can never be true unless I already spoke to you about 3 or 4 elements of risk-taking ability, of the ability to wade through ups and downs, the ability to build a team, leadership, right? So if I and again, let me go back to when I say the military, where after you clear your UPSC exam for NDA, where hundreds and thousands of people sit, you have a 5 days services selection board interview. 5 days interview process for a 17-year-old. Can you imagine what are they evaluating over 5 days?
100%.
You have psychological tests. You have that one of the tests is a tiger jump, where you are on an elevated platform and there is a rope, jute rope, and you are supposed to jump on it and come down. Now, you've never been trained for all of this, right? And they're not seeing whether you can do it. Now, I still remember when I made that jump, I just slipped all throughout, and I had all this skin come out of my hand. But I cleared the whole thing because they were not looking at whether I can do this rope or not. But will I make that attempt?
They were looking at your guts.
Correct. So you are looking, so this entire is about your psychological assessment, your group task, your leadership capability, your communication, all that is being evaluated to become an officer, right? Similarly, an entrepreneur or a founder will have to have all these skills if they really mean what they say or what they project in terms of business. Unfortunately, today, a lot of decks are created by people who have never done business. Excel sheets showing market statistics, this turnover, this total market size and all of that. How is all that relevant?
But sir, don't you think that that is also created because of the institutes that actually have started business coaching or business programs that actually are taught by professors, which have not built by, which are not really taught by real businessmen like you? So if I go to and to pick up a course, I want to be an entrepreneur, and I say that, okay, I want to go and join an entrepreneurship course in a college. I would be learning the syllabus from a teacher, and who's great in academics, but may not be great in building a business.
So the reason I became an adjunct professor is, and this is beautiful, because in this part of the world, the Ministry of Higher Education has mandated to universities that at least 30% of the courses should be taught by industry PhDs, people from the industry, in order to bring this balance, right? That it should not be purely academic. It should be academic and it should be taught by industry guys who have walked the talk, right? So I think that has now happened in good universities. It's already happening. Like me becoming a part of this adjunct whole thing. This is how the opportunity came in. When I was told that, okay, how about sharing? And so we've not only done that. I've been involved in creating entrepreneurship academies. I've been involved in creating family business transformation centers, right? So the idea is, and for example, I was invited to speak at a very good university in India, which is disrupted how an MBA thing. So it's again a 2 years program, but it doesn't aim at a degree. You have startup founders building there, you have people learning there, but it's never aimed at degree. And I strongly believe this is where education is going to get disrupted, because education is very notorious for not being able to change curriculum. So imagine you're spending your next 3 or 4 years studying in a university where you don't know whether this will be relevant for that, and you wasted so much of money of your parents and everyone. I was instrumental in bringing entrepreneurship exposure to class 9th. We started a Shark Tank kind of thing here in one of the leading schools for class 9 students, because I believe why at that 9th you have started to think what you should go for in your career.
Correct.
Engineering, this, that, whatever. So why not entrepreneurship? Right? Why don't you think in that manner also? Because this will not naturally come from many professionals, parents, right? But if you give them that exposure, then they may not have to waste those 4 years of their life. Or in the future, this 4 years degree, 3 years degree is, I think, going to be outdated, because people will look at micro skilling. People will look at, like, for example, digital marketing. Which course will you attend for digital marketing? 4 years. No, you will do short-term, multiple courses to learn various aspects of it, which no university can teach you. So what is the point? If that's your passion, then why would you go and do a 4-year degree course in marketing or 3-year degree course or an MBA when you can upskill yourself through?
But sir, do you believe that building a business is for everyone, or only few can do it?
So I say this for everyone, but the difference are two terminologies. One is entrepreneurship and one is intrapreneurship.
Okay.
Right. So which means that within organizations also you need people who have the entrepreneurship bent of mind, which I call intrapreneurship.
Oh,
so
nice.
If you have to promote this, so you can't promote in an organization the concept of employee. If you want people to take ownership, if you want people to do well, you have to build entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs out of them, right? And one day they may build that capability within themselves to open or operate a business of their own. Some may have it from day one because of the background. Like, I came from an armed forces background, and ironically people say, today you will be in an armed force only because your father was in the armed forces. But the reality is that in a course of about 300 which enters into academy, like I was saying,
UPSC.
But ultimately a course is of 300 cadets, Army, Navy, Air Force. But many do not graduate. And those who do not graduate are the ones primarily coming from civil or business background. Why? Because with that tough training and ragging, if you and I both are there and we are calling our parents and telling them too much of this is happening. So a civilian or a business background, majorly the father or the mother will say, why are you going through all this? We have come back. But a Fauji or somebody from armed forces will never tell his child to take that act, because he has to come and serve, be a part of the same community. So they will say, oh, forget it. Everybody goes through it. Stay there. It doesn't matter. So it's by push that you remain there, and ultimately because your father was in the armed forces, you are in the armed forces. It becomes like that. Similarly, what I meant to say was that people who have already in their business a business exposure, like we say, why Gujaratis are very good in business, it's in their blood, because they have seen it, how it is thought. But what if somebody has come from, father was a chartered accountant, a lawyer or whatever, come from professional services? They never got this exposure within this, right? So does it mean that they cannot become entrepreneurs? They may and they can, but they have to be taken through that learning curve. Now, who brings that learning curve? And I think that's a very big gap today in the market of such entrepreneurship academies or courses or whatever we may say, which can do that fast track, 5-6 months kind of
a bridge course.
Yeah. Which can prepare you or give you that exposure to entrepreneur, or build those capabilities which are more soft skills in nature, is, if I would say, or give them that, yes, there is something beyond. Because all throughout your home, you would have seen that I should become an accountant, a lawyer, a marketing person or so. But entrepreneurship, you can pretty much use everything. And I always say, you do well, you pick up a job, you are creating employment only for yourself. You become an entrepreneur, you are creating employment for many.
Yeah.
So you have a positive impact, not only on your own personality, but on the whole economics.
Like what you said is absolutely correct from a cultural standpoint. कि एक गुजराती के घर पे they will always talk about stock market. They will talk about आज पैसा कितना बनाया, दुकान पे जाओ. And from a young age, they are sent to handle money. And as you said, in a Punjabi's house, you'll speak, okay, आज तुम फौज में कब join करोगे? कब जाके देश के लिए लड़ोगे? Like I think India is completely cultural in that manner. And therefore, a lot of Gujaratis are, they inherit businesses from a very young age.
Yes, they inherit business, but I would say they inherit those qualities. I don't think they inherit businesses. They inherit those
qualities of building businesses.
Correct. And that is that short-term crash course which is required for people for this transition. So, for example, I conducted a master class in one of the top universities, which was a part of the executive MBA program. Now, executive MBA, you generally have people who have 10, 15 years of experience working in corporates, right? So, they can have only two aims. One is, can they move to the next level within the organization? Or second, can they now become free and become entrepreneurs and do something, right? So that's the exposure even they want. Because the more number of years you've served means you've also acquired liabilities. Now you have children, you have to look after this. So your risk-taking ability keeps on going down. Even though your experience is, you have a bank balance, you have experience, but your risk-taking ability is going down. So you would not start a business because you will then wait versus what you already have. Unless you get fired, you lose your job, then you may think.
You said about entrepreneurship. At what stage you believe that an employee is ready to start a business?
I think at a stage where any person, I won't use the word employee, but I would say any person who is willing to take that ownership and ready to accept the consequence of that ownership, right? Which means that not passing the buck, but saying, okay, I owe my success to that from this perspective, that from day one, I have been very vocal in saying that I will do this, I will run this, even as an employee, I will run this in the way I want to be. These are the results which I will deliver to you. If I cannot deliver to you, my neck is online. But this is what I will bring for you. That's not the language which many employees talk. They would never talk about what I can do for you. You leave me, you give me that freedom, and I will bring this result for you. Right? People don't take that ownership because for them it's, why take risk? So the moment that mentality is not changed, the day somebody changes that, whether you are 21 years old or you are 30 years old, you are an entrepreneurial material because you are taking the first step of taking that risk. taking that ownership, saying that, making that commitment, right? That I will make this happen and work towards it. You may fail, which is fine, but you've decided to take that path and prove to somebody, right? And so I think if you have the right boss or someone who believes in that perspective, then it's good. If you don't have, then I think it's a wrong match, and you should immediately move to somewhere where you have the right match. So I think it is equally important for a person during an interview to also evaluate his boss for him who's going to work for, rather than that person being evaluated, because you can't leave your reins into somebody else's hand if you have something in you.
Yeah, I do understand, because what you're saying is correct. I mean, everyone today, the world has become so easy, and everyone feels like to become an business owner. But I want to understand, what are those 3 or 4 skills that in today's world a founder should have in order to succeed in the business?
The capability to identify in reality a burning problem.
Okay.
Majority of the entrepreneurs are doing copy paste. Okay, fine. Not a bad idea. You can copy paste an idea which worked somewhere else, but you have to do your local market research. It gives me so much of pain when I see that there was a restaurant at this place, right? Restaurant, beautiful location, everything didn't work for 1 year. Somebody else comes in and opens another restaurant there, then again fails. Then somebody else comes and does the same thing, because what they are failing to do is a very simple thing which you call location analysis, right? So if I am a chef and I think I can do beautiful Arabic food, right? Then I will take that location. I like that location. Oh, it's in a beautiful location. I'll put my Arabic food. It'll work. But did you do your research on understanding what is the consumer around that asking for? Which kind of menu are they asking for? Which kind of price point are they asking for? Right? What is the missing element or the gap? So I think this analysis, which is not the capability of many, and this is where your academic qualification comes into place, because an MBA or an education will teach you the relevance of market research, the relevance of this, which...
So market research,
identification of a burning problem. That is extremely important.
Second?
Because that's the first aspect of what your product will be or what your solution will be, right?
Absolutely.
I think second is very strong communication capability, because this soft skill is a missing element in many. Whether you go to pitch to a customer or you go to pitch to an investor, whomsoever, business is about people. If you don't understand people, you don't understand business. So your people relationship skills, your communication soft skill is, I think, the second most important capability required. And I see this mistake a lot of founders make. They would go onto the stage, make a pitch to a lot of that, but they can't even communicate well. So why, as a founder, when you know that is not going to work, why do you have to go? Why don't you send somebody who can represent it better? You don't have to be the face of everything. Just like I was saying, a family business, right? You are a founder. But if you know, or if you realize that what you are trying to do will not make that impact, then you're not the right person to do. Either you develop your skills around it, or you send somebody who can project it in a more powerful manner. Because
so is it communication of the founder himself, or is it communicating the brand, what he has built, or the product that he's built?
So in the end, it is the conviction which speaks, right? As much as you may have whatever brand or this you have, if you're not able to project it in your body language, in the way you speak, right, it's not going to come out. And in this part of the world, there is a huge emphasis on trust and relationship. And I will tell you, this is again a shocker. I have been here 30 years. Majority of the diaspora is Indian. But till today, not even a single Indian product, service or brand is successful here. Except those which you were using when you were in India, and you may want to continue using here. And you are using Amul there, and you will come and continue using it. But which other product, brand or service has been able to make a dent into the market here versus other brands? None. Why? Because like India and like a few other countries, we are very transactional in our mindset and in nature. We expect. So if somebody who wants to expand their business into this part of the world, the first thing they will think, okay, let me make a partnership with somebody, some distributor, dealer, and maybe some business will come out of it. It doesn't work like that. This is a heavy relationship-based economy. And imagine one more thing. You are talking about how many nationalities here? 160, 200, I don't know. People say different numbers, but there are so many nationalities. So imagine You are a retail salesperson picked up from India from one of a very good retail store because you were very good there, and you are put into a Mall of Emirates retail store here, similar product, right? And you start failing. Why? Because on the same day, you are handling an Egyptian, a Kuwaiti, an Iranian, an Emirati, an Indian, a Pakistani, multiple nationalities. But were you ever trained to manage multiple nationalities?
No.
Who invested in you? You never had that exposure. And it is a very difficult exposure to give also. So why I'm saying that is because an Indian may want to be treated differently. An American may have different expectation of service level. Some may not like you to be push them. Some will get offended if you're not attending them. Right? Different cultures have different ways. The Japanese will think differently. So
therefore, communication is very important.
Communication is important at all levels. But the idea is now companies think, oh, that's a bad salesperson. They are not performing. Our product is good, price is good. But that's not what is missing. The missing element is that multicultural training. Now, if a business from overseas, from India, wants to come and do business here and does not understand this culture, does not understand this whole thing, depends on a third party to do the business for them, it's never going to work. Another mistake a lot of businesses do, let's say an Indian FMCG brand, very good in India, says, I want to enter into market. I want a distributor. So typically, what would you think? Let me look at the best distributor of FMCG brands here, right?
Correct.
The first mistake. Why?
Why?
Because that distributor became very strong because of a very strong brand portfolio that they already hold.
Okay. What do you mean by brand portfolio?
I mean, they are a very strong FMCG distributor because they have some powerful brands in their kitty, which is why they are big, no?
So they are distributing a lot of brands.
They are already distributing a lot of brands, right? Now, when you bring your product into them, it is just another brand for them. For you, it is your core brand. For them, it is just another brand. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter to them. You might as well go, and what we ideally do is, we would go to a family business which is in 10 different industries, but not in FMCG. Who has the capital, who has the infrastructure, who is hungry to add another vertical, and they will put everything behind it. That hunger will make them successful because for them, it's an opportunity. But now when you go to them, you don't go to them with a distribution proposal. You go to them with a proposal that I can help your company grow another vertical. This is the business plan, how we will take it. This is what I need from you. I will even put one of our person there who manages this business for you. You change the rule of the game. But you go to someone who is hungry to build that business rather than going to someone who already has a plethora
of products.
Of products and brands, because you will have a step motherly, fatherly treatment, whatever you may call it.
Correct. It's a very, very different way of putting up.
Yeah. So I think these are some multiple things which manage, and which is why it always pains to me to say which Indian retail brand is very powerful here. You may see them in Bardubai few markets, but in which retail store or in which plethora is somebody competing against global brands? Nobody.
What's the reason that Indian brands are not getting popular in UAE?
Like I said, so because India itself is a very large market, right? Maybe people think that this market size is very small, right? So it's not worth putting all that effort or investment here, because nobody shows them the bigger picture that Dubai is only the jumpstart for this 2 billion population of Middle East, Africa, CIS, right? And to do that, you can't have your 1 foot there, 1 foot here, right? If you want to come, you have to come fully committed.
Correct.
Right? You come here, you set up, you are in the right infrastructure, you put the right resources in place or whatever, and then it will happen. The magic will happen, but you'll have to treat it as a market of equal size and not as a subsidiary. Right? So
you'll have to give it time also, because it has to fit into the market also, right?
So one of the success story, because I was involved in it, and I'll say that a professional services firm from India, auditing, accounting, legal, tax, business advisory, all that kind of stuff, came in here when VAT came, tax came for the first time, right? Now, they came in, spent a few months, struggled a little bit, and I met the chairman, and the chairman told me, Anurag, I want to grow I'm big in India. I want to become big here. So I asked him, okay, tell me what's your ambition in terms of, give me a number, figure. What do you want this business to be? He said, I want it to be a $10 million. I said, fantastic. Now let us do mathematics, because business is all about mathematics. I said, let us first identify what will be our average invoice value to a customer. We anticipated maybe $5,000 for the service we were giving. I said, now let's first divide 10 million by $5,000. How many invoices? Number of invoices. So you understand the magnitude. Now to achieve that many number of invoices, The law of probability says that you should have 5 multiples of that as proposals in the market at any stage, right? So if I have to do 2,000 invoices, that means I should have 10,000 proposals floating in the market at that stage, because I classify them as A plus A, B, C, D. What I mean is that your A plus is your 20%, which will get qualified or invoiced within that month out of your proposal pipeline, right? And then you are building A, which is N plus 30, and B, which is N plus 60, and C, which is N plus 90. So you're building a pipeline. Your pipeline has to be of that value.
So how do you define your pipeline, you said?
A plus, A, B, C, D. A plus means my billing for that month. So out of my, so if I have a pipeline of 10 million, then 20% of that 2 million will become. If I don't have a pipeline of 10 million, I cannot expect 2 million invoicing in that month.
Correct.
So I have to build the pipeline. So you do that maths, that it is 5 multiples of that should be your proposals. Now, if you have to have 5 multiples of that as your proposals, again, the probability says that you should have had 5 multiples of that as meetings, because not every meeting will end up into a proposal at the same time. Correct?
Not end up in closing.
Right. So you will go, you'll have a meeting, and then you will again build a pipeline of meetings, but it will come into proposal at that time.
So if I'm taking the calculator and if I'm saying 10 million, I love this calculation. So when you say that 10 million and you say that, okay, out of this,
$5,000 is your average
$5,000 is their average.
So, so 2,000 invoices.
2,000 invoices. Now, out of this 2,000 invoices,
10,000 proposals. You need 20% rate of closure for that particular month.
And then it means 10,000 proposal.
10,000 proposals means 50,000 meetings.
Again,
right? Over a year.
Over a year.
So because we are dividing it by a year. So 50,000 meetings over a year. Now, to achieve 50,000 meetings, right? If that's the ambition you have, because if you don't have that, that business will never come. You can keep on imagining and dreaming, but it will come only when this happens. So to achieve a 50,000 meeting, we decided what we will do is, we'll put a team of 10 telemarketers and 50 business development people. Why? The target of every telemarketer would be make 100 calls a day. Right? 100 calls a day. Out of 100 calls, they should end up with a 10% success rate of arranging meetings for business development people, 10 meetings. So with every telemarketer, you have one business, with every telemarketer, you have 5 business development people attached. So 10 is to 5. So every telemarketer is arranging 2 meetings for each of the salesperson, and the business development guy on their own is also arranging 2 meetings for themselves. So 4 into 50, 200 meetings are happening every day. Correct? So 200 into 20 or 25 is 5,000 meetings happening. Then these numbers happen. 50,000 meetings.
So it means the third quality is we should have unit economics.
Absolutely.
Without this, if we don't get into this micro level of calculation, so everything else is a dream.
It's a dream. There is no other way, no? Nothing will, business just will not fall into your lap, because then you will enable everything, like I said. So the question was, 50 plus 10, 60 team, what is it going to cost, right? Now, I think over my 30 years, I have seen that the sales and marketing people can never be a cost to the company. Why? Because if you're, so the problem lies in recruitment. It's not the problem of the people. The biggest mistake people do is recruitment. Why? Because if I am interviewing you, right, and I will hire you because I like what you say, then that's my first recruitment mistake. Because you think like me, but that's not what I want. I want somebody to think differently, because I make another 10 people like me, then we are only operating in that space, right? I have to have someone who thinks differently, because they will then move to a different target segment, come up with different ideas. Otherwise, all of them are working in the same, and then we are not capitalizing on this. So I think the biggest challenge in lots of businesses is HR doesn't understand recruitment in majority of the places, right? So recruitment of right people who can challenge you, and you are willing to accept that feedback or whatever, right, is very important. And then the retention plan of those in terms of what you do as your incentive structure and whatever it is, right? You retain right people. How
do you recruit a right person in the company?
So I have a formula I created 3x3, right? When I say 3x3, which means that I will not recruit unless I have 3 identified, shortlisted people for that position, which means I will not pick up the first guy I like. For every position, if I have to make a call, I should have at least 3 identified, and all the people should be interviewed by 3 different, 1 woman, 1 youth, and 1 myself. Because all three will give different perspective about the same person.
Hmm.
So a lady would evaluate that person differently, a youth will evaluate the person differently, I'll evaluate it differently. So I will take the perspective of all of three, then we come up with this shortlist. So what happens, how will I achieve it? I will achieve it if I plan in advance, not that when I need the people, then only I'm hiring under pressure. Correct? A lot of time recruitment happens ki iska reference aa gaya, uska reference aa gaya, all that. But ultimately you don't make your calls. Like if you really want people to be productive, if you really want people for you to get the results which you are aiming for, then you have to put the discipline in place of how you recruit. I decided 3x3 because I think it worked well, because it gave me all the perspective I wanted. So I was not hiring only because I liked that person.
So what do you check in a new recruit whenever you're recruiting a new person, maybe as a senior manager? What exactly qualities that you check in him?
Not very different from what we mentioned about an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Exactly the same. Because I want them to be entrepreneurs. And I would rate my success. I rate my success if I can have a person perform beyond their own evaluation of their own capabilities. Where others think their capabilities stop, from there I think that their capabilities should. So that is what I have to bring out of them. And I can bring out of them. Just yesterday in my office, we had a town hall meeting. And one of the best compliments which I could get from the team was that you push us to fail. You push us to try without the fear of failing, because you say, just go and do it. Don't think twice. Even if you fail, it doesn't matter. But you go and do it, because that's what life will teach you. And the second thing, I encourage people, as much as they want, whatever course they want to do, whatever learning they want to do, they should go ahead and do it. We will take care of it. Why? Because we want them to grow. You know, this is a very famous conversation between, they say, a CEO and a CFO, where the CEO tells the CFO, I want a heavy budget on training for my people. I want to invest on them on all of this. And the CFO says, okay, but if you invest all of that and they leave, what happens? He says, now imagine that I don't invest on them and they stay. Then what is the loss to me?
Yeah.
Right. So both are thinking in their manner. Right. CFO is saying, okay, we are investing on people and they will get trained. They will go and leave to another competitor. And the CEO is saying, if I have untrained people and I keep on keeping them because of this fear, then where do I stand in terms of gaining that market share or whatever, right? So I think I am a very firm believer that if people start thinking, and I keep on telling them, tomorrow, imagine if you are doing the business, right? Like if I have a guy who's heading a particular department, but he's in operations, let's say, right? And I tell them, let's say tomorrow you want to become a business owner. Is it only operations that you will have to look at? How will you go about securing clients? How will you go about marketing? So I'm opening that bent of mind that, okay, I can, even if I'm doing operations, I can do business, but if I have to do business, then I have to speak the language of a client. So I'm putting them towards or navigating them towards understanding what is required for them to become more customer centric, most
So if someone is right now working somewhere and wants to do some sort of trainings, like maybe in your case you are giving the training, what trainings he should actually pick up in his career so that eventually he becomes a businessman?
See, so example, just yesterday I delivered. So I am a mentor on. So it is from Mumbai, from India, called Mentor My Board, which prepares people for board level and director level positions, right? So the topic I spoke on yesterday was on business resilience and the art of staying ahead.
Okay.
Now, because I believe that a person at a board level should add that value to the board in terms of thinking differently on, because many people think resilience is about
being
protection.
Strong.
No, about preventing risk.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, resilience is about you going very aggressive at that point of time. So just imagine, in today's scenario where this war-like situation, whatever it may be, right? If you are today investing on marketing while everybody else is cutting down on marketing, right? You will be more visible than others because the space is less cluttered.
Correct.
Your cost of being in the market will be lesser. Your content will be more viewed or seen because the market of that has shrunk. Many people have gone into the shell. So that's the time to go. This is the time to acquire businesses, companies, because others, maybe 3 months, 4 months, somebody could sustain. But majority of the problem in businesses is cash flow management. You have the best of the chartered accountant don't know what cash flow management is. They can prepare beautiful financials for you. Your account statement, your this, it looks like you have a beautiful P&L. When you ask, where is the cash? There's no match between your profitability and that cash. Your cash flow management. So companies are not geared up to manage that. So in maybe 2 months, 3 months, they will pull. After that, somebody who has cash in their hand, somebody who's planned this much ahead in advance will go and acquire that business. So majority of transactions happen during these periods. Not only buying and distressed real estate.
So resilience and?
So resilience and the art of staying ahead.
What do you mean art of staying ahead?
Art of staying ahead means that you generally businesses get classified into 3 categories.
Okay.
The weak, the mediocre, and the resilient. Right. So the weak ones are the ones who will collapse during this period. So it's a natural cleansing act by an act of God, as they say. It's a natural cleansing act. When such things happen, some businesses will disappear.
Okay.
Right? And majority, a lot of those businesses will be, and you see also when people say people who exited this country during this are the ones who came in this country because of the charm it had built in the last 3, 4, 5 years for them. For them, it's an easy exit. For people who came here 20 years back, 25 years back, 15 years back, who established business, for them, they're not going anywhere.
Correct.
They are here because they have gone through the curve.
Yeah, and they've gone through the ups and downs of the market.
Right. And they know. I've gone through 4 such cycles, so I know exactly how this market functions. Every time, those who panicked, they lost. Right? Those who stayed, they have grown. This country bounces back at such a massive pace that you cannot imagine what you can do post that. But only for those who fall in the resilient side. So I said weak, who disappear. Mediocre are the ones who, what happens is they would say, okay, we will do salary cuts for people, marketing.
What do you mean by weak business before we go to the mediocre? What do you mean by weak businesses? How do you classify a weak business?
A weak business which is not planned ahead of becoming resilient, right? Which means which has not put enough structure in place in terms of your cash flow, your systems, processes. You can't bounce back so fast, right? You never thought, because you built a business with the hope of everything is always going to go up.
Correct.
These
in
are the
favorable conditions.
Oh yeah, it's always in favorable conditions. But whereas anyone who picks up history knows that there's no favorable condition always for anybody in life, right? But you fail to look at it or create your systems, process or whatever, right? Whether it is talent, because a lot of businesses I've seen who grow very, very strong, because what happens is, why they become complacent is there is enough demand in the market. You are only supplying that demand, right? And so, for example, let's say this is a particular product, right? There's enough demand in the market, so you keep on importing, you keep on selling. Now, what you miss in this whole thing is that while this is selling well, there are competitors also watching other forces, right? So somebody else comes up and starts putting a differentiated product or a different price, whatever. You don't realize it because you are riding on that wave and it's going in. Suddenly, you start seeing that last stock which you ordered, 80% sold, 20% left. But your salespeople are saying, no, there is enough demand, bring more, bring more. Now, when you bring yourself over stock, your salesperson comes and tells you, now you can't sell because the competitor is giving a discount in the market. Now you get stuck. Now you have to get rid of that stock. But your decision making takes time because you bought it at a particular this, right? So then it gets accumulated. Like that, if you have 100 line items, you are sitting on huge amount of stock, which is your cash, without even realizing what happened.
And the value is depleting.
Value is depleting at one stage. And because your decision making is so, because you will always think, I bought it this. So I mean, there are several factors which make you, put you in that weak category because you don't have the structure in place of, right?
I asked you this question because do you think there's something that the founder did initially wrong that put him in this weak category, or he could do something differently in terms of planning of the money, in the psychology, the mindset shift, or something which actually has made him this weak company?
So I think this is exactly where I say the blend of academics and this comes in, because as much as we may say what you learn in an MBA or in a school of business or whatever, like one of the subjects I also teaches business data analytics, right? So when we are talking about that, you're talking about understanding data. You're looking at data for business, right? Now, I'm saying a lot of these founders, when I also mentioned a lot of good successful founders have not gone through a formal education process or whatever it may be, right? But nothing stops them from hiring the best people who are educated, who've gone through these processes, and let them put those system and structure in place.
Correct.
So I think when somebody is not putting those right structures, governance parameters, a lot of companies don't understand what internal audit means. Internal audit is a very, very strong element if it is managed correctly in an organization, because it becomes the eyes and ears. It's the control, because you can't ask a finance department to protect the risk also. You have to have somebody looking at their systems, processes in place, similarly sales, and giving a different input. So it's a constant exercise.
Correct.
A lot of businesses overlook that. Like in majority of SME businesses or the ones which are growing, you will not find an HR department. It's an admin department. It's a PR department. It is not HR. HR is about
human
right
resource.
recruitment, right retention, the culture building, the expectation management, the career growth path of people, the performance appraisals, the constant that, right? That's the part. How many companies have that effective? They may put one person in place and say, okay, now we have an HR. But it's a
But
system.
sir, in our company, we don't have an HR. We just recruit those people that have all these qualities. So we actually don't even recruit someone who doesn't come, who has a great culture, who doesn't enjoy life, who doesn't have a life after office, who is not a fit guy. We don't want to recruit those people who actually don't have a life, who doesn't have their personal culture.
Correct. However, as your business would grow, because you are looking at it from today, I'm looking at a fast growing business, right? If I'm looking at for example, the $10 million, let's come to that. Defined time frame 3 years. In 3 years, we have to touch $10 million, right? So which means that my workforce, because if I have 50 business development people, then the execution team will be 5 multiples of that. So this will become a 250 people team. I may bring all the right people, but who will be the central force? Can I look at all the 250 people myself? No. Can you as a founder look at it? No. You have to have that HR as your business grows. Correct. So I am not saying that from day one you need to have that.
That's the point.
So as you are growing, you have to put all these structures. You don't need internal audit from day one, but at certain stage, you need to put all these forces in place, and they have to become a part of your cost. So if you don't put that, what happens? You sell cheap, you acquire market, you keep on getting more business because you've not added all these costs. But these costs are the ones which will bring that value, which today you are missing because you're not looking at it. You're not looking at the value these things will bring. Now, it's not necessarily you have an internal auditor. You could outsource that to somebody or whatever you want to do. So it is important to have that central force of various departments. There is a reason why every department exists. There's a value which every department brings in. Right? That value has to be seen within the organization and at the right stage of.
So what do you mean by mediocre category of company?
So mediocre categories are the ones who, for example, during a crisis like this, what did they do? They cut down on marketing budget. They reduced number of people, right? So they came in survival mode. Okay, they still exist. 5 years later, they would still exist. But they will exist in much weaker market share. They will exist as a business, but not as a business which is growing, not as a business which became powerful because they went into survival mode. So they are mediocre businesses, right?
But it's normal, right? When some people, if the market crisis or there's uncertainty in the market, then people would go for the survival mode.
Yes.
And they would not want to heavily sometimes spend.
Correct. And it is because of these two categories that the resilient ones will flourish. It will always be like that. Because if they don't exist, what will the resilient guys take market share from? Right?
Checkmate.
So I remember this. We did this in our businesses. A case study I presented, in fact, including yesterday in the webinar, is we decided at that stage that we will increase everyone's salary by 25% during COVID. And we will not let anybody go. While the whole market is talking about reducing salary or that, we will increase 25%. But why? Because now the issue was, till this time, people were working in the office, everything was there. Now you want them to work from home. Your trust on them has to be much higher than what it was, right? Now, how do you build that ownership in them? Right? How do you build? Because first thing we believed very well is that we are not the market leaders. So people think market is going down, everyone is getting impacted. I tell them, no, it can impact the market leader, but not you, because you were never there. You can only take shares from others. Even if the market shrinks down 50%, you still have the balance 50% of which you will take share from somebody. Correct?
Absolutely.
And it grows. So you want that forces to work. So you want people with that money. So the first thing you announced was, not only that we will not get rid of anybody, we will give a 25% increment to everyone 3 months later down the line, but let us work on these objectives. So you are building that confidence in people where everyone is shaky. What will happen to our job? That company lost people, this company lost people, so and so. That's one. Second, this is the time when you can get the best talent. So you make your hit list. So a lot of, this is again, when I say recruitment, majority of the recruitment is done by people of CVs floating into the market. You go on LinkedIn, you go on Indeed, you see CVs. I mean, you see CVs.
Yeah.
But that's not the kind of people you want. You have to have not HR, you have to have a headhunting department, because you should know who in the market is the good catch which you want to bring into your company. Not, and his CV is not floating because he's a performer in his company, he or she. They are not looking for job, but you want that kind of person in your company. So if you are dependent on only CVs floating in the market or other giving you, it's not going to help you. So your headhunting person in your company should be that smart guy who can identify in competitor who's working well, right? Who in is whatever business you are in, right? And that information you get from customers, and you get from the market. Now you have that list. Now it's very difficult to pull out this guy during the peak period. But if you see during this period, their company fell a little bit weak. They started laying off people. That is the time when your hit list comes into play, and you try and get that guy on board by giving them the confidence. Because at this stage, people who are performers, if they see a weak angle within their own firm, they are look for another home where they find that comfort and security. And if you can offer them that, you have the best people on your payroll.
So how do you headhunt the best talent?
So I think we all operate in much smaller markets. It's all about your market intelligence, right? Which is why, again, one more thing I will tell you. People think that the salespeople are the only source of information, which is the worst decision you can make. Why big brands and companies have a product department different, a marketing intelligence department different, a pricing department different, a sales department different? Why? Because if they're only dependent on the salesperson to give them the information, they'll be the cheapest in the market, heavily discounted, because the salesperson is biased towards selling.
Correct.
Whereas a product guy will tell them, I have done my benchmarking on the basis of product, my features, my quality, and this is where we stand. So it's not the price that you are telling to come back. This is how you feature. Similarly, a market intelligence. So your market intelligence person, who is different from a salesperson, is required to go around, talk to customers, so and understand that which of your competitor is serving them better. What is that doing, and who is that relationship guy who is managing? So you will hear from different sources. This you will not hear from anywhere else. And this is how businesses have always been done. On market, we may use the word market intelligence, but basically it was always about you knowing from your customer.
Correct. So the way you're saying is that you could be a small company, but you have to categorize yourself in one of these. So it means you could be a small company, you could be a 2-people company, but if you don't have structure, if you're not going to be on growth mode, even in the worst situation, if you're not going to pick up those and think the crisis situation as an opportunity mode, it will be difficult for you to be a resilient company. This is what you're saying, right?
So what I'm also saying is a weak can become mediocre, and a mediocre can become resilient. A weak can also become resilient. So the process is already there, right? It's a 4-pillar process. I've designed a framework which I call the A4 resilience framework, which I'm happy to circulate, which has adapt, absorb. So it has 4 pillars, right?
Adapt, absorb,
and activate, right? Active, right? So and which is the 4th one. I'll come back to my mind. So it's a A4 resilience framework, whether for an individual or for a company or a business, it can be adopted, because you are evaluating yourself on that framework, right? So the first 3 pillars of that framework are the protection mode, are the safe mode. It is the 4th pillar, which is basically defining between resilient and the rest of the categories, right? Because it's taking you into that mode where you are acquiring distressed assets, where you are acquiring talent, where you are acquiring market share, you are becoming more visible. So you're not going into survival mode. You are coming into a mode where, and the most important aspect again in all these situations is communication. Why I'm saying communication is because what happens is, if you do not communicate to your client, to your customer, to whosoever during this period, you go silent, automatically people make a negative assumption. Silence makes you create a negative assumption. But the more you communicate, the more you shine, the more you talk, the more you are visible, you will enforce or reinforce that into this. And which is why marketing, which is always underrated during this time, that you cut, you have to actually invest more. Because it will bring you the results. One point I think which I stood unfinished was when I said sales and marketing people are never a cost to the company. What I meant was, if your recruitment is right, worst case scenario, I mean, for example, let's take a professional services, a services business, right? There is a direct cost, there is an indirect cost, and then there is a third pillar, which is the profitability. So what I say is that if a person a worst case scenario, let's say a sales guy for 10,000 dirhams, maybe not the first month, maybe by the second month or the third month, the worst case scenario, they will cover their own salary.
Correct.
Right? That's
Correct.
not difficult to do.
Correct.
Right? Obviously, what you want them to do is get you 3 multiples of their salary, because the first multiple will take care of direct cost, the second multiple will take care of indirect cost, and the third multiple will be your 33% profitability. And that is the profitability figure I have always been operating on. That 33% is your profitability which your business should give you. So a lot of time I have a lot of friends and they talk about, like even they're talking about this the India is giving that high FCNR deposit rate, right? Everyone is talking about 6.5%, 7.5%, and banks are giving you leverage, so it could go up to 12, 13%.
Correct.
And I always tell people, why would you invest in all these things and not in a business? Because a business can give you 30% plus returns. And you still have control on it. So I mean, I obviously a lot of friends who,
and you're building a legacy.
Who are so you see, the most underrated part is you have a lot of CEOs, CFOs making 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100,000 dirhams a month. They have enough,
but they're choosing the safer route.
They're choosing those routes. Stock market, they're investing. I'm telling them, why are you investing in stock market on somebody's business you don't have control? Why would you not invest in an SME business or a startup, right? Take some equity, you understand that business, become their advisor, come on the board, you have certain control over that business, right? And you will get, now in parallel, you are also building a business. You are getting that entrepreneurship focus.
Correct.
You are getting to utilize your skill, help out somebody.
Correct.
In whatever capacity you can.
And you're becoming a first generation entrepreneur as well.
Exactly. But a lot of people don't understand that you really have to drill this. I mean, I bought my first house here in the year 2010. Now when I 2010, right? So when I bought it, after that, a lot of people within my circle bought. But my logic was very simple to them. You want to stay in a good, let's say, 3-bedroom apartment or whatever in a good location. Rent is about 250,000, 200,000 plus, right? Now you are paying that towards the rent. Just convert that into paying towards mortgage.
Yeah.
Correct? Because at that value, you can easily get a loan, or you can easily buy a property of 2 million plus. Okay.
Correct.
So worst case scenario, what will happen? Your property value will fall down and you may lose the money, which in any case you were losing because you're paying towards rent. It was never coming into your pocket. And the best case scenario could be that the property appreciates, or average could be it never doesn't appreciate. But you still have your own house.
And you're becoming the landlord of your own house.
And you, because in this country, you in any case have to pay rent, right?
Yeah.
If you have to live.
You're saving the rental cost.
So with that logic, a lot of people bought. But it was basic common sense. So similarly, I'm saying for somebody to understand why invest in business and in an SME business, I'm not saying not necessarily only startup, right? Startup, they may see a little bit, but if you can add value to your startup, why not invest in a startup also or an SME business? Put your additional funds there, just like you have different investment class, stocks, bonds, FD, so and so. Let business also be an investment class where you can play an active role.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think this is great advice. So coming back to the because you've been advising so many companies across the world, at what stage do a business starts failing?
I think the biggest failure of businesses I have seen is one which I mentioned, cash flow management. Right? They don't realize. I have this beautiful story of 2 guys who came to me saying that they were operating a business for about 6 years.
Okay.
And they had in the industry they were operating, they had 65% market share.
Okay.
They were growing year over year. They started with zero investment. That's again a beautiful story because they took one client on board, did outsourcing and served that client, but worked very heavy in between. And after 6 months, the client gave them a check and said, go now invest in your own business. And then they went and they took loan or whatever and they grew very fast. But they were very, very hard workers. They were in a very operationally intensive kind of business, right? So they came and said, Dr. Anurag, we need about $2 million something for this. I said, why do you want them? Because we want to buy this and that asset and so on. And we want to. So I told them, let me look at your financials and look at and what are you doing? He said, we are growing this. We have a 17% EBITDA. So everything looks fine. I said, then the money should be there in your business. Why do you need to look out for? He said, that is where Anurag Sahab हमें समझ नहीं आता. We don't understand. सब कुछ है, but it becomes very difficult to pay the salaries of our staff by the 15th of next month, and maybe by the 30th of next month we can take something for us as salary, because we don't know where the cash is. And I said, then there is something structurally wrong within your business. I have to do a deep dive. And we did a deep dive and understood where the problem lies, which is very simple, very easy to understand. But when you look only at your monthly financial statements, you can never figure out, because your monthly financial statement keeps on showing you good profit, not the guy. And then you keep on taking money from here. One, you delay somebody's payment to pay here. You do all that jugglery.
Correct.
In that jugglery, you don't get to the real fact of what it is.
Absolutely.
Whereas the money was within their own business itself. It was stuck at different places, which they could not identify to pull it out. Because obviously, being an SME business, they probably didn't have the right finance or whatever it may be. Anyways, so what happened was, I told them, I don't think you need to borrow money from outside, because even if you borrow, you will fall in a bigger ditch, because now you have to manage that money. In the same manner, if you are managing, you will 6 months down the line, you will be in the same problem. So these are 10.
And you have to pay an interest cost as well.
I mean, forget that. But I'm just saying this. So we made a 30-point list of corrections which they should be doing in their business. And what happened? One of their customers came to know about that they're looking for money. So the customer said, I'll give you $2 million on 20% equity in your business. So these guys asked me, our problem is getting solved, what we should do. I told him, okay, let's go to the customer and give it a try, that you are being undervalued. So we went and did a blind this. I told them, you are undervaluing them, so and so. They said, no, I think we are fine, so and so. Then they also said that they have so many operational inefficiencies, financially. I said, okay, we have also identified, give us 3 months, let them correct it, but with an understanding that we come back to you, you do a fair valuation. They said, please come back, but we cannot guarantee that we'll wait for 3 months, we'll front, so whatever. But they corrected all of this. They went to the customer. Now the customer said, I want 51% equity, we'll put $5 million.
Oh.
Okay. So then these guys asked me, Anurag bhai, what we should do? I said, you cannot take it. I said, why? Because it'll solve all my problems. He said, no, it'll not solve your problem, because you have to understand, giving away 51% equity means you become de facto employees of the company, and you never worked in that mode ever. You will not be able to work or function where you have to submit reports and this. Your work operating style is very different. You'll get completely suffocated in such a scenario. I said, if you have to put up your company for 100% sale. If someone is taking 51%, tell them, let's put up for 100% sale. So what happened was, they didn't buy, but a company from Singapore bought this, venture capitalist bought them for 13x. And these guys exited at about, I think, $7 million. So in 6 years, from zero investment into that company, $7 million, which till 3 months back, they were not able to pay their own salaries. Right now we're sitting on 7 million, and they also we agreed on for 6 months 50,000 dirham salary each to both of them, two founders, for transition. Now I told them, now you have this money. Now what we'll do is, you first of all, they were from a country where the passport was not friendly, so that you will buy a European passport. One.
Okay.
Second, you create an education fund for your kids. Now third is, with that balance surplus of money, you will now invest and take equities in your line of business in other companies and help them with your knowledge of how to expand or whatever, right? So you come out of the role of operationally intensive to now becoming a very different investor class. Just giving an example. So it's a beautiful success story here of someone who in 6 years could exit with that kind of money, right? So I think...
so what was the common mistake that these founders were doing?
So like I said, this cash flow management part. Second, because it is founder driven, it becomes heavily emotionally attached relationship based business, which doesn't work. You get too much emotion. Every single decision making is emotion based. Whether it's about an employee, whether it's about a client, emotions come into place. Whether you see it or you don't see it, that emotional decision making is the worst thing which can happen to any of these businesses, because it prevents growth. Right? It prevents, it impacts everything that you look into. So you have to structure. You can't take those decisions which your HR should be taking, or somebody else should be taking, or you should be delegating, right? So your recruitment is a big problem. Wrong. Your recruitment, your cash flow management, and your structuring. These are the three common mistakes which would
Cash
pretty
flow
much
management, recruitment, and
structure.
structuring.
Yeah.
What's the ideal structuring module that should be for someone to operate a smooth company?
I think now obviously it depends upon how people intensive that company is, right? Whether it is heavy, so if it's an export company, it has different things to look at, right? If it is a company which is so you would look more from your procurement aspects and this and that, right? If it is more professional service or more service industry, then it is very people oriented. So you look at very different kind of structuring around. So I think we all have to evaluate what are the core assets of the company and then try and work the framework around it in terms of protecting those frameworks in a in the right with the right balance. Right. So I would say it's industry to industry, but I think 80% of business knows that you have to have a strong. Now again, like if it's a wholesale business, you may not need a very strong marketing, correct? But if it is a different kind of business, more brand oriented, then it'll have to focus on those marketing, communications, digital, whatever, all that. So I think it's to be seen by business. Right? It has to be evaluated as to what will take that business to the next level.
And so what about sometimes, how to avoid founder, co-founder conflicts? Because these are also one of the major issues that happen.
Yeah.
In
so husband and wife staying together also have the same the same problem, right?
Yeah.
But they live together.
Yeah.
And I think obviously the patience level or maturity level, not maturity level, but I think I would say patience to be able to accept each other's point of view, that has gone down, which is why you have very high divorce rates and everything else, which happens, unfortunately, because people try to find their independent paths, right? But then you also have several married couples lived for long, understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, work around it, stay, right? So I think a founder, co-founder is not a very different, because I'm talking about family here. Professional life is their family life, right? Because
Correct.
they are so much intertwined with each other. So I think it's a relationship like any relationship which has to be worked on. We all have to accept each other's strengths, weaknesses. Those mental barriers don't have to come. Now, it may be easier said than done, but it is not very different than how you would do with any relationship. However, what I realized was that when I was saying 5% of those of the successful startups, I realized that the founder co-founder team which worked very well is, for example, is a young founder but with a probably 40 plus kind of an experienced co-founder, right, who's filling those gaps, right? So he's bringing the balance
of leadership,
of experience, right? So and this person so I think that founder co-founder team, or sometimes people would say, okay, we both are friends, let's try, we are the same age group, let's try, and you have that chart. But you have to build a team. That's normal. Okay, that's fine. But you have to build your other founding partners who bring that balance. Like, for example, when I constitute boards in companies, I have this formula that gray-haired men should not comprise more than 40% of the board.
Okay.
Like people like me.
Yeah.
I mean,
why did you say that?
Because if all of majority of the board you will see are senior experienced people, but that changes the perspective. So I have decided that at least 20 to 30% should be youth, and 20 to 30% should be women, and 40% gray-haired men. That combination works because you don't want everyone to think the same, no?
And that's the same formula using for recruitment.
Yeah, the same formula, because ultimately you want different perspectives, because your customer is going to be not the same. It is going to be different. Right? So, for example, if you are your co-working space, right? You can't only have young founders there. You may also have people who decided at some stage of life to become a founder and may want this. So people who leaving jobs in 50 will also become. So you have addressing different target segment.
Correct.
So when you plan this, you may not only plan from keeping that young generation in place, you will also want to plan it from the perspective that these people will be comfortable in what they see, feel here, right? I'm just giving an example.
Yeah, the target audience is between at 20 years old till 50 years old.
Correct. So if you don't build it in that manner, then the 40-50 ones will not be very comfortable here. They may look for another place where they feel more comfortable, because their way of thinking, interacting, socializing could be different from what a 30 years or 20 years one would be. Right? So you have to, if you want all the time, otherwise you define that my target segment is only 20 to 30.
Then you're actually making your niche very clear.
Yeah, which is also fine, because then you are, like, for example, there are so many nightclubs. Some nightclubs you will only find 40 plus, and some nightclubs you'll find the youngsters. Both don't gel in the same place.
correct, maybe.
I mean, some may, but they are looking for a different. They may look for a different kind of music, a different kind of vibe. They're looking for a different kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, look for a very trance music.
Yeah,
they are looking for more like ghazal and all.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, so I'm saying you have to create that. Now you can't create that and say I'm not getting the 20-year-old into. Then your market segmentation is wrong.
So I like one thing that you have done. How you revived this business. I mean, what sort of remedy did you give to a business owner that's actually depleting cash every day?
See, so for example, when
because
I talked about
you
here,
put a stop loss, because you said
so. If I looked at where was the cash, why was the cash was getting blocked? Very simple. This business grew because of the founder, because of the hard work they did, because of the relationship. So what happened in that interim was, because it was very relationship-based business, they could not ask or demand money from their creditors, or because it was built by relationship. So if somebody calls them and says, "Yeah, abhi 10 din baad denge, 20 din baad denge," which is okay, except the salesperson says he's not giving now, he'll give later. So you accommodate everything without realizing what is it costing you, because you are not able to pay your own salaries, but you are giving away those credits, right? Similarly, because of the relationship, while the cost in the market was increasing, you have never been able to, because you got one business from a reference from another guy. He said, "Oh, these guys are very good, take them." So you already knows the pricing. You go and pay the guys, you're giving this. So you go and give discount. So you're never able to increase your price. You're never able to get your money on time. So you are building very beautiful relationships, but at what cost? On the stress which you are creating on you and your team, right? By keeping somebody else happy. Right? So like these, I'm just giving you two examples. Like that, there are multiple areas which you don't realize. Like I gave you for a trading company, I said how the stock 80% gets sold, 20% gets cut, and then it keeps on piling. It
keeps on accumulating there.
But you don't realize it because you are in the flow of looking at your P&L saying, "Oh, fine. You don't look at dead inventory, obsolete inventory, because that's not featuring into your, it's not eating into your monthly profitability, but it is taking away your cash flow."
So you think that a founder has to look into a product or a service shelf life also?
Absolutely. I mean, so professional services is beautiful because you get paid in advance, majorly. You should, right? Because that's what professional services, audit firms charge ahead, or maybe at least 50% is charged ahead of time, right? So you should not have receivables. Like in the professional service firm I was talking about, you have zero receivables. Why? Because you would only bill once money is collected. So before that, it's a pro forma invoice. You would only bill when collected. So you are zero receivable pending. So you create that discipline culture. Second, also, you immediately from your cash, you start making provisions for anything and everything in physical cash. So what happens is, in your balance sheet, for example, if you have a 1 million invoicing a month, you know that 5% you have to pay VAT, right? And X amount corporate tax will be there, right? Now, in your balance, in your accounting statement, you will make the provision, but physically in cash, you will not make it. So what will happen? When it comes time to pay that VAT, you don't have money to pay. So you are pulling out from somewhere else. However, if you bring that discipline, it will not happen in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. But that discipline is made. That means that every time an invoice is created, that 5% which the client, you have a 1,000 dirhams invoice, so you have 50 dirhams VAT. The client is paying you 1,050. You're not taking that entire 1,050. That 50 is already, the cash is parked separately in a separate account, which you don't touch. If you are providing for gratuity in your account statement, then that money is physically put somewhere.
In a different bank account.
In a different bank account. Because even in our personal lives, if you earn a salary and what is a systematic investment plan? That money you never see because it automatically goes. The moment you have that money, you will try and use it.
Yeah.
So when you're not seeing it, it's parked aside. That discipline literally changes things.
So as a founder, do you believe that I need to keep evaluating my services with time, and I need to change it as and when the time changes.
Yeah, you have to constantly keep creating services based on the news, and that's what I do. So, for example, if I pick up today's newspaper and it tells me that Abu Dhabi government is supporting SMEs by giving them so and so incentive or benefit, right? So that becomes a product for me because today I know that news. On that basis, I can offer an advisory to several SME businesses of how to avail that benefit or facility. I'm just saying, right? So, depending upon what business are you in, for example, even in your, let's say, co-working space, your prime objective is that you would like to attract businesses to come and take part in this, right? However, you will also have to constantly evaluate which kind of business is today ripe to come in. Like, for example, we know that because of, for example, India, online sports betting, gaming, enforcement directorate became very strong. So all those operate from here now. Right, but the business is there, esports, which is catching up, right? So when you do now marketing for your co-working space, you should do target marketing for that category. So when you are saying we are a co-working space which has a specialized area for esports and gaming, so you are attracting those founders here because you've created that ecosystem for them. So targeted marketing, like, I mean, for example, an accounting, audit, tax firm will have all the services.
You got it.
But they can say, okay, we are an audit tax firm, or they can say, we specialize in getting you save penalties, right, or whatever. So I'm just saying you'll have to create those based on the trend. Today, the trend may be there. Tomorrow, the trend may change to, for example, you have now Dubai Gaming Authority, right? You know that online is being allowed in other jurisdictions. You have VARA, Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority. You have crypto. So if you say we have a separate dedicated area because you are getting these crypto founders in one place where they can network, interact. So you are building that ecosystem for them. So within your co-working space, now you have pockets of so cross exchange, because co-working space means you should be able to network and learn from each other and exchange ideas. Then you don't have to go to a third place to do that. Why people are in DIFC? Why people are in Dubai Industrial Park? Why are they in Aviation City? Because it is meant for aviation, it is meant for logistics, it's meant for sport.
So in today's world, in 2026, what should I do to invest on myself before I invest into a business?
Now, I think
because I need to invest on myself first, right?
But
कभी भी समझ में नहीं आता है कि मैं कोई कंपनी में काम कर रहा हूँ या कुछ कर रहा हूँ, तो पता नहीं चल रहा है कि क्या मुझे वो नॉलेज है कि नहीं. बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि मुझे खुद को नॉलेज नहीं है, लेकिन मैं कुछ करना चाहता हूँ. ऐसा बहुत बार होता है कि our desires take over our mind so much that जो हम एक्ट करने वाले उसका कोई सब्सटेंस नहीं है हमारे पास.
So let me give you this beautiful story. I was the group general manager of a very, very large family business group, and I became the group CEO because we had fantastic results for last 3 years. We grew 50%, 51%, 52%, and massive growth in bottom line. Now, group CEO, 5,000 people firm, I think $1 billion turnover. And when I took over that position, in 3 months, I started failing. I started failing in 3 months for exactly the same reasons for which I was successful for the last 18 years or 15 years. Why? Because I was successful till that time because I was very hands-on in business. So I would go meet clients, create schemes for this, whatever it was. I was very intensively involved as a group general manager. But when I became a group CEO, with the same thought process I went in, I became a threat to the CEOs who were reporting into me because they started seeing me as micromanagement, as someone intruding into their territory. They thought that I don't believe in them, trust in them because I want to do the things, get involved, because my style was aggressive, right? So I would like to do it, and I believe that was exactly, it is the best way. Like I was talking about founders who at some period of time don't delegate or don't do this, right? So I had a similar problem and I started failing. And it took me, the investment I had to make in myself was, so there is this beautiful university in Switzerland called IMD, which runs neck to neck with Harvard. So these are like Harvard is an executive program, education. IMD and Harvard run neck to neck for number 1 and number 2 positions.
Okay.
So I went for this course, which is a 1-year course, which one you can only be sponsored by a company because you go there for 3 months. Whatever you learn, you come back and apply that in your organization for 3 months. You go back. This is how it works over the year.
Okay.
And there,
What is the course?
I had it's called a program for executive development.
Okay.
But what happened was that I was assigned with a leadership coach,
Okay.
right? So this is where the role of a good mentor and everything comes in. And the first thing the coach asked me when I told him that this is my problem, this is what I want to correct, and people were laughing because this course costed $500,000
Oh.
over 2 years, because then it moved into an executive MBA, which I did. It was a very expensive course because companies like, for example, Nestle and all, when their people are moving from GM to C-suite, it's a mandatory course they have to do. So corporate. So which is why it is expensive, because they can afford. So people are laughing that you're already at the top of this, why would you do this? For that amount, you can buy a house or whatever. I said, because if I don't do it, I will not stay in the position I am, because I have realized my weakness, right? It's not the weakness of the people that we are failing. I am failing because of my style of operating, which has to change. So this leadership coach, the first thing he also asked me, okay, what is your problem? I said, this is my problem. I like to do things I know. And I said, and what if you didn't do? What is the maximum loss that could happen? What could go wrong? And that was a struggle for me to answer this question, that what could really go wrong? To what extent? What is that physical damage which could happen if I allowed somebody else to do it in the way they wanted it to? And that changed the entire perspective, right? So I had to unlearn everything that had brought me success to continue being successful. And this is the biggest learning, that unlearning is a constant process because of the changing times. You can't be stuck to what was good yesterday is no longer going to be good for tomorrow, right? So similarly,
So you
when
have
you
to
said,
keep creating substance.
so you have to, I think, keep on doing self-evaluation of which is that missing element, because it's very difficult to, it's very individualistic in nature, right? Some are your core assets and strengths, which you only know. But I think we all have to be able to do that self-introspection honestly, or have the right mentor, because it plays a massive role. I mean, I think I have added value to a lot of people's lives by being able to give them that challenging mentorship. Telling them, a lot of founders of businesses and chairmen of companies, where I have told them the same thing which I learned from a leadership who said, what could go wrong if you did this, right? So with the same thought, but I'm just saying, we have to do that honest self-introspection, be ready for it, and then we know what exactly should we change, because it's different for everyone. But the process of self-evaluation is the same. The process of somebody coming in and telling you and sitting with you and challenging you to think differently, because a lot of people underrate. The problem is the consultant market has become so bad. Everyone is a consultant.
Correct.
And everyone is trying to this. And SME business and founders don't need consultant. They need people who can hands-on be with them, come from an execution background. So a lot of consulting firms, big consulting firms, how do they hire their people? They pick up the best of the talent from good universities, correct? And those people grow, but they've never done execution. They never made their hands dirty, but they advise billions of dollars of growth based on their this, but not necessarily everything is right. So this is okay for multinationals who could look at, but the SME businesses, the startups and all of that are looking for people who have done it.
So what did you learn new when you came from there? Because you've already reached at that peak. यहाँ से आपने नया क्या सीखा यूनिवर्सिटी में? कि आपने, you went and you re-educated yourself.
Yeah. So first thing I learned is to delegate better, to remove the micromanagement aspect of it, which is a bigger problem amongst anyone who's heavily experienced and been successful. Because you are successful, you believe so much in yourself because you've been doing it, right? There is, why should you believe otherwise that anything else would have made you successful? So, like I said, at some stage, you have to be very, very strong-headed and understand with you that no, this needs change, even though it is for the success of the past, right? So I learned how to unlearn. I learned how to delegate, how not to micromanage, how to be able to trust and believe in others' capabilities and allow them and take a step back and only come in also with a differentiated approach, not come in with an approach of correcting somebody, but come in with an approach of supporting somebody for failure. So all that which I talked about failure is all what has been learned, not in the first 15 years of my career, because that was aggressive, growing, going at the top speed. Let's like any founder of a growing business would be. But at some stage, that founder also has to which is what I also had to do in the corporate life.
At what stage the founder becomes a bottleneck of the growth?
At the stage where the founder, like I said, where the founder does not do this self-evaluation and accept that there are better people around you who can do things differently. So I think it's that closed approach to even accepting a young generation. I had this this amazing thing where we wanted to develop the AI capabilities and offer that as a service to. So I was a pioneer in this market on bringing intelligent automation to the private sector, because this is the only country where every other place in the world, the public sector follows the private sector. Here, private sector follows the public sector because the smart government, everything comes here first in the government.
They take initiative much more faster.
Much more faster, right? But the private sector does not take it that fast. So I was a pioneer in bringing that intelligent automation into the public sector, into the private sector, family businesses, SMEs, and all of that. That's where you had this challenge of acceptance, right? Of the intelligent automation adaptability in that segment or that sector. For the founder, like when I said here also, when you wanted to bring in intelligent automation or anything, I go to a lot of, I speak to a lot of chairmen, and when I sit with them, there is this act of denial. So when I tell them, I would start by saying that this is what other businesses have done to come out of that. This is the problems businesses are facing. XYZ, under technology, under this, under financial, under operational, and that business has done so and so. So when I sit with the chairman just casually and say, any problems in your business, everything going on? Yeah, everything is going fine, everything is fine. This. Then I don't tell them about their business, I tell them about what other businesses they've come. And I think it takes about 30, 40, 45 minutes till that chairman comes up and says, okay, Anurag, imagine that I had some of these problems. Right? Imagine that I had some, because that they would, it
hurts the ego.
It hurts, no? Because you build. Imagine this. What can we do? And then from there the conversation starts, right? But if someone is not willing to even hear, and this is where I said the consultants market has become very bad, because these people, if I am a consultant, you want to evaluate me, and I think it doesn't take to a good entrepreneur who has built businesses, it doesn't take them more than 10-15 minutes to understand that the person on the other side is more academic in nature or does really understand and can walk the talk in this. So they want executioners. They don't want consultants or advisors. Even startups, they want executioners, right? Whomsoever they want, who can hold their hand, take them along with them, right? Like I said, on family businesses, we've gone and invested, we've gone and operated businesses. So you've gone and done it, right? So you want people who have that capability and expertise.
100%.
So
we have this even in our firm. We have this recruitment process where we find two type of employees. One is the guy who amazingly table talks, have a great conversations on table, and the second guy may not be great in conversation, but will be great in execution. But we'll pick up the second guy. Because not every time we need someone to discuss the issue, or we don't need a lot of thinkers. बहुत बार हमें सिर्फ execution लोग चाहिए, और thinkers हम ऊपर वाले ही कर लेते हैं, 2, 3, 4, 5 लोग हैं. And because many times we have to deliver the service, that's more important rather than discussing on the service.
True. And you will need a blend of people for sure, because if the entire strategy building is only left to the people at the top, then sometimes that strategy may not be market driven. Because you see, this is this beautiful story I'll tell you. I am part of a very large group where I was on the board. So this company is into selling consumer durables, consumer goods like refrigerators, washing machine, all of that. Now the beauty of this business is you have a showroom, you have the best of the brands or hypermarket, wherever you are selling all of that, right? So when a consumer goes and buys, he buys based on the salesperson, whatever tells him. But this is a product which has to be installed at your house. Who comes for installation? A driver and a technician, right? Now, who are the lowest paid in the company? Not the CEO is not coming to your house. The general manager is not coming to your house. Even that salesperson who sold you is not coming to your house. Who's coming to your house is a technician and a low paid driver and the support staff. Now, if they come to your house, they are smelling, they are not dressed well, and while installing, they may put a damage here or make on the wall.
Not professional.
Not professional. Then what happens to that brand? Everything gets killed. Now, and I learned this. I went for this training to Korea.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Because if you look at a country like India, every single brand in consumer durable got wiped out. Biggest brands, Onida, BPL, this got wiped out by the Koreans, LG and Samsung. Everywhere it's only LG, Samsung now.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
How could in a country of that size, how could somebody from Korea could come in and wipe out every single brand? Globally also, but I'm just taking India. Why? Because, and I wanted to understand why. What was this? So when I went to Korea, why I went to Korea is because I understood that the game is not on sales or volume. The game is around service. So what I did was, I went to a service center in an LG service center, which starts at 7:30. So I wanted to beat the traffic. I reached there at 7. And when I reached there at 7, I see it is full and people are studying. So I asked the person there, what is this? What are they studying? They're all engineers, service engineers. And they are studying because as they study and do the courses within, their salary increases and they get promoted and so and so. I said, okay, and what are their salaries? $10,000 is the salary of a service engineer, which is much, much higher than what a salesperson makes there. So at 7:30, what happens? 7:30, there is a large screen TV. The national service head comes on that. And then for the respective branch, their figures of last day are projected on the screen. Figure of how many calls each technician made, how many were successful. This is coming. It's not a sales figure. It's a service figure which is coming. And then after 5-10 minutes, they stand up and they take an oath, a military oath, that we will serve our customers so and so. And then they go. So I went with the service technician in their vehicle. So they have a palm top on which the call comes. So whatever is all. So this was a air conditioning issue at a church, which had to be resolved. So I was sitting as a part of my learning exercise with the technician going. So he goes to the church, he meets the priest, he greets them, and shows them that the outdoor unit is outside. So he goes there, opens his briefcase, lays out a cloth. All the tools are arranged in a line. He comes, he repairs, picks up, puts up bed, goes back, greets, and gives a small gift to the priest.
Wow.
For calling us for serving.
Wow.
And I said, this is unbelievable. And then we implemented that in one of the Gulf countries, this methodology, which worked very well. So I was talking about here also. So a service technician, now I'm saying, let's change this game. This driver and service technician who are going, if they are well presented, this and that, and all that, what we did was we said, okay, these guys should be incentivized. And how will they get incentivized? So I'm a service technician. I'm coming to your house to install, and after I've done my work, I tell you, sir, any other problem, any electrical problem, plumbing problem, I can fix for you. If you have anything, I'm more than happy to do it complimentary for you. So you're thinking, oh my God, the guy. Then so you may have something, you may ask them to fix it, he'll fix it, and then I will do a quick scan of this, and I'll tell them, okay, I think your cooker or your refrigerator is probably getting old. What I can do is I get a special discount being from staff. So you want to change this in my card, you can please call me and I'll get you the best price. So now no longer a salesperson is required. Your trust on the service technician is now so much because he did something for you, and then that becomes the salesperson. And for every such sales converted, you get an incentive to the service technician. So now the service technician wants to be more presented, wants to do, improves their communication skill, wants to learn. You give them training programs and not only invest. I'm just giving an example of how important is this aspect, which was completely, because in India, service levels were very poor.
Correct. The service guy has nothing to do with sales.
Nothing to do with sales. And their poor service impacts the brand, while the brands are investing heavily on marketing of their offers and so they are leaving this.
Yeah, very well said, because if the service guy is coming and building that trust, and because he's getting the entry in the house, that itself is a great trust.
Exactly.
And from there, if he's not able to encash that and help the brand to go and re-cement that trust, then he's just ruining the reputation of the brand as an after-sales service. And if he's just going as a technician and not going as someone that is able to greet and have a great hospital conversation. I think what a beautiful story.
And I actually I was responsible at that stage to approve the bonuses for that year for the firm. And I put a very heavy bonus for the service technicians and drivers. I think 4 months salary, something like that. And the board questioned me, why are you doing that? These people, what they told me, the exact word was that you are overfeeding them
Mm.
more than what they need. I said, you may be right. But in the end, I believe they are the strongest brand builders for me, not you, not me, not the sales guy, not our marketing efforts, because all that brings a customer to the door. But after that, if I have to convert that customer into my reference seller or everything I want to bring, these are the people who will establish, and I think I have to keep them happy. Right?
Absolutely.
So so what I mean is, like I told you about the retail sales staff. So the people who matter are actually the lowest paid and the lowest incentivized and the lowest trained in many organizations, and many other people who are not really the front facing are getting
Excellent. I mean. So in your experience, which are the industries that are going to do excellent in the next 10 years?
I think this is a very, very tough question to answer. However, because this is a constantly evolving, just like we said, the jobs of future are not known, right? Similarly, the businesses of future also cannot be determined at this stage, even though somebody says AI influence so and so. But I think we still have to see the result of an AI adoption in terms of profitability to a company. Yes, it is very good for companies to adopt all this, but is it how much of actually impact it is making to the bottom line? And will it keep on doing it on sustainable basis is yet to be seen. Because if too many people are adopting AI, then I today can very well see when a response comes, when an automatic message comes, that it's an AI generated, right? So somehow today I may be losing the trust on that company and saying, no, I still want that, right? But how people will react to it, how people will evolve, all that needs to be seen. But I think one thing which is not going away and which will constantly remain is the service industry. Every single aspect of that, whatever said and done, whether you do it on freelance, whether you do it on whatever, people will need professionals, services as a solution to support them and help them. Then there are multiple industries. It could be energy sector, it is health. I think education and health are ripe for disruption, because anything which costs the consumer more and pains, and it's a painful. So we saw that in fintech, right? Why today banks don't have branches? Why it has become digital? Why all these solutions have come? Because it was painful for the customer. Similarly, I think education is right for disruption. Healthcare is right for disruption because it is very expensive and it pinches people and it does not deliver what it can.
Do you think in the next 10 years, manufacturing will do its best?
Definitely, it is already doing, but the products are changing. For example, I am on the board of Drone Manufacturing Association of India. Now, Make in India is a big campaign there. So you are making drones, autonomous vehicles, everything which is happening, right? So the industry segment is changing. Now you look at, excellent example is, this is a country where they would, 2 years back, they would not touch one Chinese vehicle. This country is so much brand conscious that a Chinese brand was impossible to enter. There are distributors who had good Chinese brand with and never worked. Now you look at this market, 20% of the vehicles outside are Chinese. Right? BYD, Jetour, you name it. How suddenly they've all come? Because from a mechanical, it has moved to hybrid or electric. Right? So BYD is today bigger than Tesla when it comes to electric manufacturing. Now, how can a country afford not to have BYD there? Right? So what I'm saying is that the changing trend, now there'll be a huge disruption in all these auto garages, because if it is moving to that direction, then where is the need for mechanical parts?
Servicing.
Companies are giving 1 million kilometers warranty on because it's the battery or whatever it is. So I think the whole dynamic of even the automotive industry will change in how it is serviced, what is required, what is not required. Correct. Similar impact will be like, for example, I always give this. I think we are the only country where fuel is delivered at home through Kafu.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct.
You can go and fill up petrol.
No, I was looking at like what if tomorrow I want to start a manufacturing company, a small manufacturing company, maybe this table, no one can stop me. Maybe previously I was importing this wood from India, or maybe I was importing from China. Now I can just buy 5 robots, put them in a room, have a small workshop, and tell them to work 24/7, and I can keep delivering it. I don't need to import it anymore. don't you think that this is a good option going forward, that everyone can actually build a small
Yeah.
manufacturing unit?
So I was invited to this beautiful factory in Dubai, Silicon Oasis, which produces cars as good as Lamborghini.
Okay.
So if you know, the Dubai police now has a vehicle, a 4-wheel drive, which looks like a Chevrolet or any of these Taos, which is called Ghiat. It is manufactured here in UAE.
Yeah.
So I went to that factory.
Hmm.
Only 3D machines printing parts. The
Hmm.
whole factory doesn't have people doing anything. It has 3D machines which are printing the parts, and those
And then
parts
assembling
is what
Assembled.
this has. Obviously, it may not be economical at this stage because the cost of the vehicle is higher, right? But a car is already being manufactured, as you said, for manufacturing, right? So similarly, but the question is not about. So they today are still not in the commercial market because they cannot compete. But they decided that for the government, with the government support, they will build it for the government, right? I think the first car they also gave it to the royal family, whatever as a gift. So I think what is important to identify is when you say, if I have to manufacture this, is that a burning problem? Is that the missing gap in the market? Because you have to address a particular gap. Is the consumer today, is it the cost which is hurting them, or is it the time of delivery, time to get the product? Because what makes maximum difference, right? So for example, if I go and order furniture or a kitchen for my house, right, am I prepared to wait for 30 days, or there are local joineries and I'm happy for them, if they do it in 3 days, I'll give the order to them. I will not wait for a brand to come in. So I think that element
and there
has
can
to
be personal touch to it. I could make a table that really fits you, that likes your design. And I could actually start a small unit that actually maybe I could serve only this part of Dubai.
I mean, I didn't realize this. So there was a very old company which has been dealing in watches and all of that, big brands. And then the chairman came to me, said that his son, they've been doing this, but he's not very happy with the business, not working well. So because all throughout their focus was on representing global brands in watches, right? But the watch industry got disrupted and changed because of Apple Watch and all that same. However, when I did a little bit of research and I realized there are so many people here selling personalized watches. They are doing the engraving on a watch and right. So and a lot of these are owned by Emiratis and they are doing it. So they have that niche. They are doing it digital. They are doing it online, right? But they are doing personalized watches because that's a demand. Because that nobody else offers. You can't get it from outside. So they would have an elephant carved there or a camel or whatever it may be or the name. So there is a demand for this. So you created a different, and all of them, what they did a simple site through Shopify. You created your website because all that you want to do this. Similarly, for example,
or Instagram marketing.
Yeah. Now you look at another business which I did a deep research on, which is what you call the cloud kitchen, ghost kitchen, dark kitchen. Now today, I can be a health meal plan company. I can be whatever I want, as if I am good at creating a menu and doing digital marketing. I don't need to be a kitchen. I don't need to understand that, right? So which is why I will completely outsource my cooking to somebody else. So this health meal plan today, there are 85 companies and majority of them don't even have a base there. They operate from overseas. But they have a kitchen here operating, making for them, right? The customer is digital because you can buy a 3,000 dirhams meal plan, right? Digitally.
I buy from KCal.
Yeah. So I'm saying somebody is doing the logistics for you, cold chain logistics, somebody delivering, but you can be in business without knowing that. So I think that trend of what the consumer is asking for needs to be understood. So I think I give a very, very high rating to market intelligence. Market intelligence, which is a missing element, because today also you ask who in your firm is responsible for market intelligence. Who will give you? If you have only one person, which is you, which means you are missing out. But if you have 5 people who are constantly out there in the market, understanding the trend, looking in not only in the local market, but also global market as to what is coming new, dedicated on that, not as a side job, then you are faster than others.
This will be a differentiating factor.
Obviously, because that knowledge is only what will give you your decision-making capability. Now, the more we delay it, the less proactive and the more reactive
product
you are.
Research is going to be a massive advantage for you.
For any business. Because the market is constantly evolving and disrupting. Where did you have podcast studios before? Right now, if you look at the podcast studio industry, how are they selling on rental? Because people need to do podcasts.
Yeah.
or they need. So the people are giving 300 dirhams, 500 dirhams a day, whatever it is they've created. Just like you have co-working space, would have I so beautiful. I went to, for the first time, I went to Masdar city, just because that city is heavily focused on. The first time I found a co-working lab. Means you have the best of top class equipment, which any researcher, anyone can come in, get a table space, use top class scientific equipment, and does not have to invest on anything. You can just take a table with all services. It's a co-working lab.
Excellent.
Because they want to bring in researchers, scientists, innovation and all that coming in. So if you want to bring them into this country, where do they go? They don't need a co-working office. They need a co-working lab.
Lab, yeah. For someone who wants to just build a product on scientific.
Yes.
That's great.
So how many co-working labs are there? I don't think anybody exists.
I think mostly governments can actually take up those initiatives. I think Masdar is government, right?
But what they've done is, this is outsourced to another firm. So the whole facility of co-working lab is outsourced to another party who runs it for them.
What are the major industries that you feel are going to be very risky in the next 3-4 years, which is going to be completely a red ocean?
I won't say the industry, but I would say the processes which are heavily human dependent, correct? Where the technology adoption is not happening. For example, at one stage of life, mental maths was very important for all of us. We should be able to calculate. So the best of your accountants should have mental maths.
Correct.
But when Excel came, as much as how good you are at your mental maths, you are non-employable if you don't know Excel.
Correct.
You should be zero in your maths, it doesn't matter, but you should be good at operating Excel and you have a job. Now, after Excel, ERPs came. Sage, Oracle, Tally. If you don't know how to manage or run an ERP, you are unemployable as an accountant. You maybe have done your chartered accountant, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Correct. Now, you are using AI tools for a lot of finance functions. If you don't know that, you will be unemployable. So with every single thing coming up, I think this upskilling of everyone is extremely important, and that happens with the industry. So what will happen is, this workforce requirement will keep on changing, because if you don't upgrade yourself, right? Now, for example, the most easiest is, you see everyone's communication has dramatically improved now because of Grammarly, because of ChatGPT writing for them. So a person who may come from a village background today also can send out a mail with the top class English language. Right or wrong?
And I'll tell you this one example. I just written a message to one of my office boys, and I asked him that, because he was supposed to come and pick me up with a car somewhere. And I said, what's the reason that you didn't come? And why you didn't inform me last night that last minute I have to be? Then he's written some very complex that, sir, further to your information and all. Like, I said, can you just send me a voice note? I mean, he's like picked it from ChatGPT and he's written to me like a detailed message.
True. What I'm saying is that today that technology is available to anyone. Maybe in this case is different, but for someone interacting with an American customer, a British customer sitting in a village in India, can give that quality of
makes him feel powerful.
Of response, and that people are using it wisely. Now, some may use it unwisely, not correct, whatever it. But I'm saying this is what technology brings you into it. Now, you don't need somebody for a better, just content creation. Companies has changed. Right. Earlier, you had to have a copywriter in your company who will write so and so. Now you need someone who can give the right prompt. So prompt engineering is a new
is a new profession.
New profession, right? You have to be good at, but it's an old profession. I always say this: if you ask the right questions, you get the right answer. So you have to do the same thing with the ChatGPT.
See, you've been also an investor, and I wanted to come out to your investment journey. How do you value a company before you invest?
See, so my investment journey is very hands-on in nature, means I only get involved in where I can make the difference, right? So my evaluation is that is to understand those pain points in the deep dive, and what role can I play in correcting those pain, right? So it does not matter what industry, what business. My evaluation is only on the basis of, is it fulfilling some problem or gap in the market, right? And deep market research on understanding. For example, in some African country, we built hypermarkets where the modern retail did not exist. It was still those traditional wholesale kind of units and shops which were selling. We built hypermarket because we understood that there is a demand of the young generation which is getting exposed to all of this, and they want e-commerce in a country where e-commerce never existed. We build all that up. Investment thesis from me: one, what problem is it solving, and what role can I play in helping out? Because my whole life is, my theme is building profitable, scalable, sustainable, investable businesses. Correct. With an intent to have a positive impact on women and youth entrepreneurship. Right. So if these are getting met, then it is. So I don't know if you already know that you have this UAE's biggest startup funding show, which is coming up, televised, Falcons of Majlis. Out of the 7 Falcons, I am one of the Falcon, where the lead Falcon is Sunil Shetty and Chitrangda Singh is the host. So out of the 7, I am one. And I would say the other Falcons are top shot billionaires. I may not come in that category, but the value I am adding, obviously from an investment perspective, but more important is my lookout is because I created this very successful program of converting the 95% failure rate of startups to a 95% success rate. How? So I was hitting 2 birds with 1 stone here. I created this program of family businesses adopting startups. What I mean is that now a family business which has to move from its traditional way of thinking to innovative, and you have this young generation wanting to come and set up its space, and then on the other side you have a startup. So for example, I was on the board of a large logistics firm, and there were 2 startup founders who came up with a beautiful product where which was a plug and play for someone who wanted to get onto e-commerce, right? So you decide that from that part of the world I want to import and I want to sell here. Okay. Now their plug and play mechanism would take care of anything and everything, which means that right from importing the product, storing the product, delivering the product, collecting, everything was provided.
They used to factor the regulations of import export as well.
Yeah, everything. So for that they needed funding. Now why? Because they had to buy warehouses, they had to buy vehicles, so and so, whatever. But the technology part they had developed, right? And then I was a part of the logistics firm which was struggling a little bit because the shipping lines had become aggressive and were directly now approaching large customers. Before they used to have logistic companies in between. So that part of business they were missing. And so a lot of their business was moving. So they also wanted, and then you had the young generation of this company coming in who wanted to do things differently. So I told the chairman, let us do this. Then there's a 20 years old company, large company. So I told them, we'll do this. We'll adopt this startup. When I say adopt, what I mean is a startup is looking for funding. But they are looking for funding, but we don't have to really fund them. What we have to really do is take care of everything that they need. So it's a plug and play. You bring them tomorrow into your company. You have the warehouses, you have the vehicles, you have IT, admin, finance, marketing, everything set up, including customers. So from day one, they can go operational, and you start taking care of their monthly expenses or whatever it is required in order to make them, and you give them that support. And I made the in charge of this the young generation guy of the family business, so that he could create a success story within the organization. And the success of this startup could tell the family business and other people that things can be done differently. Like this, we did about 82 success stories with a 95% success rate because the cause of failure was removed. What is the biggest cause of failure of startups? They get too much caught into starting everything from scratch is very difficult.
And the family office already has that infrastructure.
Yeah, family business already has all of that, right? And you are giving them. So it's a beautiful marriage.
It's completely an hands in glove approach where basically the family business is hand-holding the startup.
It works for some kinds of business. It may not work for them because you have to also understand there is a lot of fraud in startup space.
What do you mean? What fraud is there in startup space?
Fraud, I mean, is that people are floating startups only to get money and get funded. And then you find, so I just finished a book called Bad Blood.
Okay.
This is a beautiful story of a Silicon Valley startup, which the founders are behind the bars now, but a lady at Stanford, Elizabeth, who created this product where by just a minuscule of drop of blood, they could perform multiple tests, right? And Elizabeth Holmes. It's a real story.
Okay.
And she had the top shots of politics of this as investors.
Okay.
Huge amount of money she had raised.
Okay.
But in the lie, what she probably at some stage, all the promises which we made, that small drop of blood with this small mini device at your home or wherever can do all of that, that product could never be developed. So to live that lie and to continuously, it became a habit. They got billions of dollars of investment, and obviously she had a partner who was also not the right advisor on this scenario. So they were actually using a Siemens machine and showing the results under this. So there was a lot of fraud. It's a beautiful book to read.
More like a Ponzi product.
Yeah, but that intent may not have been there. But over a period of time, as you started borrowing money and taking money, and you believed in your lie so much
that you became a compulsive liar.
You became a compulsive liar, but you had that charisma that you could attract top generals, top politicians into your kitty. People were this. Everyone believed in them so much till an investigative journalist found the knots and did this whole story. It's a real life story. So I actually did a series of articles on LinkedIn on the startup founders, on the various things they do wrong, because it's also an easy money making scheme for many. Correct? If you could convince an investor with all that you are saying, and the investor is not solid enough in terms of in getting cat, and because of startup failure, 95% startup failure also means 95% investor failure.
Correct, 100%. It's technically burning the money.
So
as an investor, what do you look in a founder? Because the product is there, he's already proved that money is coming in. What do you then look before investing into him?
No. So see, again, there are different stages of that investor. So assuming that we are talking about an investor where the product is already built and the money is coming up, and then
the proof of concept is there.
Yeah, and then your due diligence, obviously your own due diligence and your understanding is very important. You don't invest in a business which you don't understand, right? So you have to understand, and so you ask as many questions, whatever, right? In order to understand, not in order to question, but in order to improve this, and then you do your due diligence and market research to see, and maybe your due diligence may help up in guiding the founder that it has to be tweaked or whatever it may be, and you will find whether the founder is acceptable to that. Because like I said, my experience very clearly says that only 5% of original ideas have become, what I mean is that the idea gets changed multiple times in that journey 100%. Because of competition, because of market forces, because of socio-political, right? So I think as an investor, you have to put that time in understanding that business, right? Understanding the pain area which is being solved. You can't simply go on a founder's gut feel, right? And you have to focus on a founder's soft skills and these capabilities of being able to build team, capability of, again, repeating the same thing, of being able to survive the ups and downs. You have to get into understanding the intent of that founder. What is that money being asked for? How serious is that founder about utilizing that money in the right ethical manner towards business, right? If the founder wants a particular level of salary, then you have to give them that comfort of that salary, because then only the person can perform. You can't too much hold them by the neck. So I think there are several things which have to be looked into.
So your role as an advisor or as a director, who basically convinces the family offices to go and acquire the startup after you doing your acquisition audit, how do you basically reduce the maximum conflict between that investor and this founder? Because you will be having certain sort of ways to operate, right?
In my case, I am the conduit, because actually they are investing on me more than because in the end, like I said, I am only getting involved in things where I can add value, right? So I am walking the talk, right? In many places, I am a co-investor, right? So I am a co-investor.
Giving a lot of time.
No. I am a co-investor even financially.
Okay.
So I am taking part of that risk in order to then where if they are not really convinced, right? So I am probably investing 50%, somebody else is investing, depending upon what is required. But I will really tell you, majority of the times it is not really the need of funding or investment. It is always the need of looking at the business model in more effective manner, because how much money can somebody need for generating a business or operating, because the business, if it cannot justify its existence in the next 2 or 3 months, like I said, why I said a salesperson can never be a cost to a company, because in the next 3 months the salesperson would have already not only covered their salary but started covering. So maximum exposure of your investment is not beyond 3 months. So if someone's model is not giving you that confidence, that is that whatever you are investing in the next 3 months, 4 months, 5 months is not being able to return, that means the investment is wrong. Because, for example, let's say you are in a co-working space, right? And you say, my co-working space is good, I need to take
I need
another place, right? And for that, if I want to get a good deal, I have to pay a year's rent in advance or whatever. Understood? Okay. Now, if you can see that that year's rent cannot be recovered in the next 3, 4, 5 months, that means something is wrong with that model. So you sit with the founder and guide them, or you change the dynamics. But I'm saying, so in a model where it is very clear that, okay, next 2, 3 months, the money will automatically start coming,
Yeah.
that makes sound investment for both parties.
And you can see the demand, showing the demand, that the product has a demand.
Product has a demand, right? Now, sometimes what happens is that you may see the demand based on your existing, and you may see that, but tomorrow that demand can also suddenly fail for certain reason. So an investor should add that extra due diligence or guidance to understand the market trend and say, okay, it's a good opportunity, but we may have to tweak it a little bit in so and so manner, right? So, which is why I say it's never, the investment is not a challenge. There are enough people
The
ready.
role is very, very complex. It's not an easy role. When I'm actually getting into the depth of it, I can actually understand. Like when you're especially taking that assurance on behalf of founders,
Yeah.
that's not an easy role.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are banking your decision making. And they're saying that, okay, Dr. Anurag, if you have said yes, then for me, it's okay.
That's why I always say this is a market of relationship and trust, and the trust is built by legacy. So there's a legacy over 30 years which has been formed, right, of you being able to make things successful. Not doesn't mean that you haven't failed or not taken wrong decisions, but people are believing in you, dependent, and understanding that because you are involved, the investment is secure.
Not also because of that, also because you have deep knowledge about running and building a business, and then you have academics to support that. Thirdly, that's why you're branded as the doctor of family businesses. I mean, there's a reason, because you going into depth of understanding at what level of execution can someone actually get the outcome what he has promised.
And I strongly believe that, as I said, businesses are the easiest thing to do. If we constantly keep on tweaking it, there's no reason that any business should fail.
Can every loss-making business turn around into profit?
Yes, it can be, because it may not be in the original form, but it will have several assets which you can tweak and change the model, right? So, for example, I'm just saying, let's say a co-working space. Tomorrow, suddenly, like we've seen, a lot of businesses did not decide not to open up here because of geopolitical changes. Why Dubai? I mean, let's go to Singapore. Let's go to Hong Kong. Why should we open up
Correct.
an office space here? And it has happened. Lots of companies took big warehousing spaces.
Where?
I'm saying lots of companies planned and took and built large warehouse spaces when Dubai was going through this.
Correct.
Suddenly, when COVID came and all that hit, they had empty warehouses. They had nothing to do. But what we did was, so for example, I will talk about an automotive spare parts firm. They built huge facility in Dubai Industrial Park or somewhere. And they told me that, half of it is unutilized. And then at the same time, in my network, I had a Chinese automotive parts company which wanted to enter this market, right? I told them, it's a beautiful opportunity. These guys have unutilized space. You guys take half of that space, make them your distributor also, so that they can supply for you, use their warehouses, and you still have control over it. And it becomes a beautiful marriage. So you're cross-utilizing the resources.
Excellent collaboration.
Similarly, in a place like this, if it is loss-making because you have an asset you took, you paid a 1-year rent, and you can't use it any longer, so you may not be able to use it for co-working space, but you could simply tweak it to what it is required today in terms of that. So I'm saying business remodeling may come in. So every business is possible to be converted by tweaking and understanding what is the need, because space everybody requires, this everybody requires, whatever it is, something or the other everyone requires, right? You may also have to renegotiate certain terms, and many things happen. But yes, every business can be converted from loss to profit, but the mindset has to change.
Do you think that now young entrepreneurs who are actually branding themselves on social media as entrepreneurs, Do you think there's a lot of pressure on them कि मुझे कुछ prove करना है, करके मैं brand कर रहा हूँ, or they really are really passionate about building a business? क्योंकि आपके पास तो बहुत लोग आते होंगे guidance के लिए.
See, putting pressure on yourself is not a bad thing, because sometimes it is that pressure that will push you through to make something better out of you, right? But in that journey, like I said, that self-evaluation of your gaps and your capabilities which need enhancement is extremely important, right? Asking, seeking help, and when somebody is advising, taking those corrective measures and putting or implementing them are very important. And this is not for an entrepreneur, for anyone at any stage in life, in any place, right? All this is important, whether it's with your health, whether it's your family, whether it's your business. So I think the good thing is that there are enough good people out there who can advise, who can become a part of your game, because many people in the age of 40 plus, like a young entrepreneur is looking for entrepreneurship. There are also people who have 10-15 years experience working in corporate also looking for entrepreneurship and the shift. Correct?
There are many people.
There are many people. So it's a beautiful combination. Right? But someone has to do that marriage. The right marriage. क्योंकि ये लड़का लड़की हर जगह होते हैं, लेकिन उन लोगों को कौन से राइट लोगों को मिलाता है, चाहे वो पंडित मिलाता है या प्रीस्ट मिलाता है, जो भी मिलाता है, like that you have to have somebody who does the right marriage between people.
Correct.
By looking at both sides and understanding.
क्योंकि एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप और बिजनेस बिल्ड करना मतलब लोग सिर्फ पैसा देखते हैं. लोग एक्चुअली उसके जो लिए अगर आई मीन टू रीच टू दैट लेवल, people don't really bother into the sacrifices and जो requirement या मेहनत लगती है उसमें कोई ध्यान नहीं देता है.
देखो, if we try and make it sound कि बहुत मेहनत लगती है, बहुत हार्ड वर्क लगता है, तो we are putting off people, because it is just the passion which should keep on driving you, right? Because these small wins will only make you big. So what I'm saying is that your aim or your target should never be very big in the first place. You should only go gradual, and you keep on winning, you keep on rewarding yourself, and you keep on growing. Sometimes that magnifies very quickly.
Progressive growth,
right? So you should never get under this. I think a lot of people saying कि बहुत मेहनत, बहुत hard work, बहुत वो लगता है, this. I don't think we should take it like that, because वो उतनी ही मेहनत किसी को अपनी जॉब में भी अपने आप को प्रूव करने को लगता है during a probation period. Correct? If you're joining a company, you're also being hired for something. You have to perform on the job. Right? So similarly in an entrepreneurship, you take it with that. I have always said this to anyone and everyone. There is nothing better than when somebody look for a job and say there's nothing better than you being trained and being paid for it. That is what is a job. A job is that somebody is paying you and training you. Correct?
100%.
If you take your job in that mindset, you will never find it as a burden.
Yeah, it is like you joining an university and then getting paid to join that university.
Getting paid. Correct? Yeah. So entrepreneurship also is something you decided to learn or get an experience on. Correct? But if you are trying to get into entrepreneurship, you should beforehand have that work on the financial modeling of who is supporting you, because you can't just say I am becoming an entrepreneur, फिर मैं देखूंगा पैसा किधर से आएगा. You decide कि मेरे पास ये capability है, because I think your early funders will obviously be your friends and family and anyone who believes in you. तो अगर आप में कोई बिलीव ही नहीं करता तो पहले आपको वो बिलीवर्स को कुछ तो बनाना पड़ेगा जो आप में बिलीव करेंगे, और फिर जो आप स्टार्ट करोगे वो उस मॉडल में होना चाहिए कि उसके अंदर वो सपोर्ट हो सके ताकि क्विक विंस दिखाई जा सके. Once you have that quick wins coming and visible to people, that trust and that confidence will automatically build up. Then it is called scaling up.
So do you think that when you look at family businesses in India, when you look at the Ambanis, the Adanis, you think their children are really ready to take over the board? Or are they really backed up with really professional people behind them? Or they are just going to be the face?
So I have this beautiful story again of a very, very large Indian company. In one line of business, and the son, after he getting married, he was a part of that business there but never comfortable. After he getting married, he told his father, I want to relocate to UAE. You put up a huge plant for me here, right? They were manufacturers. Huge plant for me here, and I will look at the rest of the world from here. You keep on managing with your team and this your business in India. Okay. So the chairman invested huge amount. in creating this huge infrastructure for them and this. And I think 2-3 years later, I just got a call from Mr. Anurag. I want you to come and meet and discuss and whatever. So we went, and his son was there, son's wife was there, he was there, and he said that I created all this infrastructure, but I'm not happy with the performance. Son says, I think we are doing very well. I'm very happy with what we are doing. The father doesn't believe the same thing. So there's a lot of stuff. So the father said, no, I want you to put the right structure system in place. The son told me, Dr. Anurag, whatever structure you plan, I want to be on the golf course because I will do my business on the golf course. You bring me the best CEO, best CFO. I don't want to do the business the way my father manages it, by being heavily involved, extensively involved in this. I want to spend my time playing golf while male relationships there. I should be on the governing board. I want this structure. But the father doesn't accept that because he says, that's not how I do it. How can you leave the business to somebody else? So eventually I had to convince the father that this is what your son is thinking is probably the best approach given his aptitude and given his way of thinking. Right? And we build that structure. We put the right people in place. He plays golf and the business is expanding and doing very well. So it does not necessarily mean that how the father thought, okay, now if the son wanted to probably convince the father on this or do whatever for years, he would not have been able to do that. But for me, being able to become a part of it, giving the confidence to the chairman that we'll put that right structure in place, this is all, you'll get your reports, this is how your son will manage, gave that extra layer of confidence, right? So when you say, are they prepared? You don't know, because their way of working could be very different from how the company has been operating in the past. So you need to create a different structure automatically for them. Maybe they are better off as strategists. They are better off as being on the board and calling those shots and not getting operationally involved. Maybe they are better off on becoming a family office, because that also is a trend.
Or maybe a face of the company only.
Or face of the company only. There can be different methodologies, right? So there is no one way of looking at things. It has to be built on the personality, on the ambition, on the aspiration of each individual, and then defined accordingly.
So even in especially in a family business marriages, then finding a partner also would be, I don't know whether there's real relationship, or is it that there's a mutual partnership of finding the next successor or the partner successor.
I mean, if it is left to the parents, if it is left to the parents, then maybe yes. But if it is left to the children, they may think differently, right? They may look for life partner. But you are right. It makes sense, because if they have business ambition, right, then they would want a partner who can fuel that ambition or fulfill that ambition. Because I'll tell you of a very, very large group here also, where unfortunately the founder, who was quite passionate, quite aggressive, had built that company to over $1 billion group, passed away at the age of 52, right? And he had no son. His wife had never been a part of the business. His 2 daughters were married. Now, suddenly, you have this vacuum.
Successor nahi hai.
Right? So, till that time, he was very hands-on in the business. Right? So, now you have changed. Now, the wife has to get into the business. She has no clue. The daughters have to get in, they don't have clue. So, what started happening is that some key players in the company started calling the shots and playing that chess. Right? And manipulating the whole this. Right? So, that business actually fell down very quickly and went down. And so a lot of things happened. So what I'm saying is that, again, at what stage somebody decides, because nobody knows for how long they are going to be alive or whatever it is, right? The structure has to be put in place. And it's a very painful thing to look at someone who built that business and then didn't have anybody in the family to, then everyone takes advantage once you're gone.
The partner was not competent enough to succeed that business.
Partner was not competent enough to succeed, never got involved in the business because he was doing, and 52 is a young age for somebody to pass. You never expected it to happen. So I think all eventualities have to be put into practice. Now, if your partner, and if you are business and passionate, you would want to have a partner which can contribute to
your business,
to your part, if that's how you want it.
If anything happens, at least she succeeds over the business.
True.
And takes care of the kids as well. What happens to people that actually, even after marriage, so there is a divorce, then how do they protect their family wealth? Because ho sakta hai between the marriage journey, they separate. And do they actually sign these prenuptial agreements?
I think in business it is very different.
Family
All
business.
prenuptial agreements and all are only on personal wealth, right? Family businesses have a holding structure, right? They work very differently. Okay, so like
There is
for
no
example,
risk.
like here also, like why do people say that you should have a will, or if you own a property, right? Because it is then governed by in different laws and different regulations. Okay, so I think the structuring of a business is very different than it cannot be split in the same manner as a personal property or private wealth is.
I just want to understand how important it is for us to have a good network, especially while building a business.
Whether you are building business, whether you are working, whether you are a network is, I mean, obviously they say your network is your net worth, but to having your right set of network is extremely important. People always say, right, if the 7 people around you, you are as good as the 7 people whom you mostly interact. So if the 7 of those are billionaires of your friends, then you are in that league because you are thinking like that. You are doing so. Who influences your thought process around you is extremely important. Network, I have seen a lot of value, but I go out of the way to talk to anyone and everyone. I mean, even if I sit in a taxi, that driver of a taxi is a very valuable network for me. Why? Because what I can extract information of that guy who is every day holding different nationalities, different people, can give me so much of information which no market research can give me. Right? I was just last week attending a wedding in Georgia. And the guy who was taking me from the airport, the first time I realized that he had coming from Punjab in India. And then I came to realize that there are so many people from Punjab in India, in Georgia, doing multiple businesses. They have married Georgian citizens. They have Georgian passports and they are Georgian citizens. They speak Georgian, they speak Russian. I never had, and I got so much of information from him of what is working in real estate, in investment, so and so. And then when I was there, I met the new Indian ambassador to Georgia. Indian has just opened 3 months back in Georgia. There's a lot happening on tourism, on wedding destination for this. So what I'm saying is, this kind of information is so valuable, which you can get in a 2-hour drive.
No, it's so important.
So important. So all this is a part of network. A network, in my opinion, anyone you interact with is a network for you. Correct? And what you ask, how you interact, what you live with. So I always like we were talking about Kafu. I was very curious to know how Kafu makes money. Why? Because they sell at the same price fuel as you would go into a petrol station. However, if you put a credit of X amount, you also get a 5% discount, extra credit, right? And so how do they make money was a question in my mind. So once I got hold of a Kafu driver, because it's a single guy driving, and I asked him, tell me, because I wanted to know. He said, sir, I'm very low in the ladder of the company, but one thing I know, which I have been told, is that we don't have the retail cost of operating a petrol pump, which is very huge cost for a petrol pump. We buy at wholesale price. I take my 300 liters, whatever it was, and I go, and by evening I finished it and I go back, right? I am the only person. It's completely app driven. There is no human interface, and that's how we make money.
Wow.
Correct. So otherwise it's a question mark.
It's a big question mark.
Because
There's
how
no retail cost.
Yeah.
There's no rent cost.
Right. So I'm saying, which financial statement will you read to understand that? But you can get a lot of information from, so when your networks interact.
So I don't have a political background. No, मेरे पास कोई family business है. लेकिन मैं I want to start building a network. तो मेरा first step क्या होना चाहिए?
I think network is built by meeting as many people wherever you can. And so, for example, you wrote to me on Instagram to do this podcast. Okay. Now, I may I would have asked probably 1 or 2 questions, but then the questions were not from the perspective of, so when I came here, to me, I don't know whether it adds any value to me or not, what I will gain out of it, but the simple experience of having come here, looked at your premises, interacted with you, talked to your guy who was showing me around, is all my network and my experience. Correct? Now, I could have easily said no to this and been sitting in my office and doing whatever, doing work.
Correct.
But if I don't move out of that comfort zone, come all the way to this place in Dera, I say, oh yeah, I'm there and why should we go? So, somebody has to make that additional effort.
Thank you, sir.
No, I'm just saying here, whether it is this or any opportunity which comes, you don't say no to it. And I always say it's a very bad habit I have, which is why I am into academics also, I'm into in startup also, I'm into family business also, I'm into this and that. And I travel quite extensively because Dubai is so centrally located. Given an opportunity, I would go. Like I was saying, Vibrant Goa, which we are doing. I mean, but I simply like to. I am a mentor in the Startup World Cup, which is $1 million prize.
I see.
In LA. I do that with the perspective of learning, because from everybody I learn. Right. So obviously I may be giving something, but I am taking it because I am learning from everybody. It's a big value to me from anyone I meet. So that's how the network is formed. You know one, and then you know somebody, and then somebody, and then somebody. Whether how much they are doing, whether they are doing well, not doing well, doesn't matter, because that's how network is built. Yeah.
If you have to give one advice for someone who wants to double or triple, people want to double or triple their income every year. If you want to give one advice to people who want to double or triple their income every year, what will be that advice?
For business?
Business or career, anything.
Both ways it is possible. It's not difficult at all, because people will value you for what you give to them in return. Correct? Now, if I am in the same job and I expect my company to triple my salary, it's never going to happen. Right? At the most, I may be able to negotiate 25%, 30%, 40%, whatever it is I show. Right? But if I want to come out of that comfort zone and I go and hunt for a company where I go and pitch for a position which is a higher paying position, correct? And I can show them during my interview that this is the return on investment which I'll bring for you, I may have that job. But sitting, it's not going to fall into my lap. Correct? First, I have to aim for. So many people think, I am today a manager. How can I aim for a general manager's position? Yes, you can. You can apply. Who stops you from doing it? Because what you will go there and speak in your interview, and how will you will show that conviction may make the change. Because maybe they are looking for somebody like you. They're not looking for an experienced general manager. They're looking for someone who is hungry for the general manager's position and will add value to it. Right? And you may also end up agreeing with them a variable pay structure, which is very heavy for you, which means that today your fixed salary may not increase. And you could do that probably in your own firm. You may say, okay, 25% increase on this, but let's assign that for every incremental business I bring for you, give me a 30% of that. The company may also think, okay, this is a business which was never ours. Right? If he's bringing in, we are still getting 70%. And that may also help you getting to the larger salary bracket.
Take more ownership.
Take more ownership, get more money. So you can negotiate different terms by showing that value which you can bring to somebody else and take a share out of that. Now, many people, while they are working, obviously do not also create the second source of income, which also is a problem. You have to have 2 or 3 sources of income, can't be just one. Correct? Because you always have time on weekends, you always have time on that. You can also do freelance services. Today in this country, you are also allowed to work for somebody else with the NOC of your existing one, which is non-competing. So if you have certain skill, you can do that. So if anyone and everyone is willing to put in that extra effort, I think there are enough opportunities to double, triple your income. It doesn't really matter. In businesses, I think it is even more easier by doing that simple thing of identifying what is that additional line of service that you will put in. Or I think most important is what I always say is your upsell and cross-sell. Because your CAC, which is your client acquisition cost, is your biggest cost. Now, how do you milk the maximum out of that? So I'll give you this classic example, real estate, and which happened because when the real estate market started falling down, I have a lot of friends who are into the real estate brokerage or whatever. So they have been operating for quite some time, right?
Correct.
Now they have this huge, beautiful relationship with investors who have invested in real estate. Now I tell them, once you sell a real estate, what is your next target with that guy? Is your next real estate you will buy? He said, but why that? Because the person who is invested in cash and bought a property in this is because he has some business somewhere in other part of the world.
Correct.
Now, how about you also becoming a business advisory firm or tying up with someone where you can help them establish their business here? You help them establish their real estate.
Yeah.
But you are not a business establishment firm. But why not branch out, under tie up with somebody or whatever it may be, right? And because you already have that client.
Correct.
Now you have other services to sell to the same client for which you don't have a client acquisition cost.
Correct.
but you can do upsell, cross-sell of service to the same one through a reference arrangement, tie-up arrangement, whatever, right? And there are many other firms who would be willing to die to get that target base.
And vice versa.
And vice
business
versa.
Consultants can do real estate.
Can do real estate, right? Because you have those clients, right? So you have to do those marriages by. So I think cross-sell, upsell is and reference-based and testimonials. 4. So your existing client, the reference it gives you, which comes at no cost, right? And their testimonials, which you can market. All these become very, very important aspects.
It all cements the trust.
Yeah, cements the trust, and you don't have a new client acquisition cost on this. This is proved very successful, but you have to play it right. Yeah.
Last question for entrepreneurs that have come leaving everything from India, or entrepreneurs that are building businesses in India in the new age world. What will be your last advice to them? How to remain resilient, because everyone wants to build that resilient company that you give in. How to remain resilient and relevant so that they also could lead up to becoming a family business in the long run.
So I think the first thing I would say is that you are in the best part of the world first. From wherever you came, if you came to Dubai, you are in the best place, because in every other part of the world, museums are created to relish the past. This is the only country where you have museum of the future, because we believe future comes here first, right? So you are already there. You have a very forward-thinking government. You have a very, I am amazed by this country, that a country which has only 3 assets, the 3 S, the sun, sand and sea, did not even have people on their own. Then somebody had the vision to create this huge, beautiful place. Nothing grows here. Population is not there. Harsh climate. But still you have created a fabulous. Why? How could somebody do that? Purely because of the vision. So you already have that advantage. You have the advantage of being in a centrally located geography. Very easy to set up anything that you want. Correct? Very easy to get a global exposure, which you will never get sitting back in India. You interact with people. Obviously, now you have a lot of people here. If they are from one community, they will eat the same food. After 20 years also, if you ask them what in Arabic food, they will not know anything beyond hummus and khubus.
Correct.
Because they have never, this country allows you to have a food of 200 different
nationalities.
But you don't. You stay in your comfort zone of your own set of people. You won't talk to a Russian there, or you won't talk to this. So what I'm saying is, this country gives you that opportunity. If you want to take that advantage, then become cross-cultural, get involved, speak to people, learn that language, learn from everybody's culture, make your entire personality very different, right? And from this, you take this to, so being in Dubai, when you come from India, you have 2 major advantages being an Indian business. One, you only can keep your front-end cost here and keep your entire back-end cost in India. Right? So your execution team, whatever you want to put, finance, whatever, your front-end team is all that you need here. Your brand valuation enhances rapidly because now you are in another geography. Your possibility to raise funding also enhances because you are in this geography and not only in India. Correct?
Correct.
So, and from here you can go places. So I think you are in a sweet spot. You are in the most beautiful place. Build your network, build that trust, build the confidence, have the right set of people with you, advising, mentoring, whatever it is, right? And take it to the, take advantage of all that what this country is offering to you. Who else can give you?
What about that small village boy who's looking from India to build a company in India, and he's listening to this podcast and I've reached to this level and he's looking for that advice कि सर मैं क्या करूं, क्योंकि मेरे को तो दुबई आ नहीं सकता हूं, लेकिन मैं वो गांव में बैठा हूं और मुझे यहाँ से मुझे कुछ धंधा स्टार्ट करना है, तो मैं क्या करूं?
देखो, पहली बात तो ये कि दुबई ऐसी कंट्री है जहाँ सब आ सकते हैं. Because there is no other country in the world where just opening a small business gives you a visa. Correct? However, you get residency. Even a university student here can sponsor their parents.
Correct.
Right? Correct. You don't have that flexibility anywhere else. But if you are saying, I want to come here, but you have still not identified the gap of this market, the problem that you are trying to solve, your entire chain of who is your customer, what they will pay, whether it is viable or not, you have to do that market research first. Then only you can come here. So a business, if your product is now fit more for India and you've done well there, then first work on that market. Work on that village, work on that town, work on that city before you want to go global. Make the product,
Test the product there.
test the product there. Not only test the product, make it successful there, because there's a difference between scaling up and there's a because investment for scaling up is different from investment for starting a business. What are you looking for? If you're looking for scaling up, it is much easier to raise funding, raise investment, whatever it is. Correct? But if you are talking about a lot of startups come up, they give you a global picture and you ask them, what are they doing in the geography where they exist? They're doing nothing. They talk about global strategy, but nothing about the local. So if you want to be successful, first show that success here, and then it's easy to replicate. It's much easier. You can't, there's no shortcut to that jump. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a lovely conversation. It was so much long conversation. And आपका जो deep insights मिलने के बाद मतलब काफी सारे viewers को अभी they have got a different level of lens to look at business. Business बहुत complicated होता है. Business में बहुत सारी commitment लगती है. But business बहुत easy भी होता है. और business से आप बहुत पैसा भी कमा सकते हो. लेकिन वो तब हो सकता है जब आपके पास एक सर जैसे आपके पास mentor हो और इतनी डीप नॉलेज अगर आपने दी है. थैंक यू सो मच. आई एम रियली थैंक यू फॉर कमिंग हियर एंड शेयरिंग योर माइंड. थैंक यू वंस अगेन.
आई शुड थैंक यू कि आपने एक इतना अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म बनाया है, बिकॉज इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ whatever we are talking, ultimately to whomsoever it reaches, it is your platform that is enabling it to reach to those people, right?
Yes,
I'm sure there is some takeaways anyone can take from, and everyone would be taking from all the interviews that you take and all the podcasts. So you are doing a huge favor
Thank you, sir.
to lots of those businesses and a lot of those people who hear you. And I hope that your follower base who keeps on listening increases rapidly, enhances, because that value is immense, because it is the true value which somebody can get.
Yeah.
Correct? And it can open up their brains and the mind. So a job very well done.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank
wish you a continued success in doing that.
Thank you. And they're all motivated,
Yeah.
being the part of the community. They actually look up for these podcasts because what they look for like good guests who talk about these deep problems in business.
True.
And because everyone has left something and come here in this entrepreneurship club
Absolutely.
to come and build something for what they want to build for their legacy. So I think वो एक hope के साथ आते हैं. और जब आप एक गेस्ट आता है and he explains about how these are the blind spots कोई भी आदमी निकाल सकता है, और ये जीनियस स्ट्रेंथ के ऊपर आप फोकस करो, और ये जीनियस स्ट्रेंथ ही आपको बिजनेस पे will take you to that highest level. I think when they get this fuel, I think that's what they get very happy about.
Exactly, because this is all a part of the learning process, right?
Yeah.
Like I always say, when I talked about Africa, I said 75% of the youth is below the age of 25. Every other part of the world, the population is declining, including India. In China, the population is now on the decline, because in order to maintain the birth and death ratio, a woman should give birth to more than 2 kids, which is not happening. However, in Africa, the population will become from 1.5 billion to 3 billion because baby production is happening in massive pace, right? They are the only continent who returned the COVID vaccines because they believed that this will impact their fertility rate, so they refused to use COVID vaccines. Yeah, and they were the least affected also because their lifestyle and what they consume and eat on natural basis, right? They help them. So I think what I'm saying is that these are a lot of businesses aren't looking at these kind of opportunities. They should look at, this is a beautiful place to make that happen. What is today applicable in a village in India is the same solution required in Africa also.
Yeah.
Because these are all agricultural centric, farming centric, manpower centric, all those kind of businesses. The youngsters of there will straight away, for example, in India, I don't know if you know that there were pagers.
Correct.
Right? And then there were mobiles. But a lot of countries have never seen pagers. They have simply moved from landline to this because pagers came and disappeared. Country like India may have used it. After that, they completed it. But many countries who never went on that phase, they stayed away. So Africa will adopt a lot of latest technologies without having to go through the learning curve of using those obsolete ones in between.
But because you said this, I'll tell you, there was one article which I read कि India wants to become wealthy country. But अगर India wealthy country होना चाहिए, if they want to become, then the women have to start working. Because women employment India में is only like 6%. जबकि China में 94% of the women are working. That's a massive, if you see, a mismatch. And that's how they become wealthy. So if you have dual income earners in every family, it becomes very easy for India to become a wealthy country.
So this is beautiful example which I have worked extensively in Bangladesh. So one of the biggest industry in Bangladesh is garment manufacturing.
Okay.
Right? They produce, I mean, a Levi's jeans which is sold at $50 is produced at $1.2 in Bangladesh. The cotton, even though the cotton is taken from India because Bangladesh doesn't have that much of cotton. Now, garment industry, multiple floors, 2,000 working, 99% women. 99% women working in this industry in Bangladesh. And because to facilitate that, they have creche and they have all that now. Now, just imagine that, as you rightly said, and I have promoted this in multiple places, when a woman starts becoming the second earner, so your disposable income, this increases or doubles, right? And so in Africa also you'll find there's a huge amount of women workforce.
Yeah.
Right? They would buy from a hypermarket, go and sell it in the streets or whatever. They would do multiple things. So this is, in Bangladesh, this is a proven success in the garment industry, which employs a major female workforce. However, in lots of places where the female workforce is high, the men become very lazy. That also is a...
Is it a cultural issue in India?
I think it is a cultural issue in India, but you see in the
men
the
feel very
city,
powerful of not sending the women to work or something like that. It's a matter of pride or something like that.
But it's already changed in modern cities, in A class cities. It's already changing in B cities. I think it will just have to trickle down to the villages, right? Because in I think if we look at the workforce in modern cities, metros, it's very different then. Right? You have a lot of women workforce, but that's also leading to other problems.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
once again.